Welcome to Things You Didn't Ask For and Didn't Need to Know, the show where we discuss random stuff that we find interesting before diving into our main topic, which this week is the future of cinema. I'm Donal.
I'm Barry.
And I'm Mart.
And please don't forget to like the show if you enjoy it, subscribe, and if you're on YouTube, hit the bell to be notified for new episodes. Definitely comment if you can. All the comments are read and appreciated. And without much more ado, we will hand it over to you, Barry.
All right. Things you didn't ask for and certainly didn't need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's one I found this week and I thought it was kind of cool. Australia, the continent and country, is actually wider than the moon.
What?
Really?
Yeah. That was my reaction. That was exactly my reaction when I read it. So the moon is roughly 3,400 kilometers wide, or 2,113 miles for those Luddites. And Australia is almost
2,000 miles.
Yeah, 2,113 miles. Yeah.
Australia is bigger than that.
Australia is 4,000 kilometers, or 2,485 miles.
Wait a second now. The moon is 2,000 miles wide.
3,400 kilometers. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because I think the moon is, well, I could put it the other way. Earth is 50 times bigger than the moon. But
Is that
that's
bigger?
still
No, that's
pretty-
bigger in mass, though, is it?
No, bigger physically. Not massive in terms of the
No, but it's
bin
not
weight it
bigger.
puts in space-time.
No, but it's not bigger in diameter 50 times.
Yeah. No.
Now, bear in mind, I get all these facts from the internet.
And I'm going to say as well, I got this fact randomly off the top of my head because
So-
I remember it from 20 years
And
ago.
we
so
do,
I don't know.
we do very, if any,
I was going to say, yeah.
fact-checking
I was
on
going to
the
say, don't
show.
even pretending there's a little bit.
Yeah,
Just-
there's very little, if
no,
any.
I'm shocked at that, really.
Yeah. No, having said that, obviously, like I said, I didn't check the facts, didn't go out there with a tape measure or any of that kind of
Okay,
stuff.
we
so,
won't hold you to
don't-
account if it's a
don't-
bit wrong.
Yeah, if it's a bit wrong. But yeah, there you go. Teeth that we have in our head, they're not made of live tissue. This is something I didn't know. And they are coated in enamel, which means they can't spontaneously regenerate. It's one of the only kind of parts of our bodies that can't fix themselves if something goes wrong with them, which hints why you get damage on your tooth. It's out or it's capped or whatever. Like. But yeah, it's because of the enamel and because of the way they're built, they can't regenerate, which I thought was
Interesting.
also always makes me cringe when you think like injuries to the teeth, or you see someone on a movie getting tortured in their mouth or something. It's
Yeah, definitely be a case of
Actually-
when you see the tooth pulling thing coming out of it, like, I'll tell you everything.
yeah,
You don't even need to do that. It's okay.
Oh yeah. Oh no, if I was being tortured, I'd be the worst. Don't tell me any
I
secrets.
can, I can tie that into the future of cinema. It's a nice theme. Do you think that scene in American History X would get made again today?
Oh, that's spoiler alert
Do you know
for
what?
a
Definitely.
20-year-old movie.
Really?
Oh, I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, I think
It's
I think
violent, but it
the
was
bite the curb scene.
necessary
we
for
know the
the
one, and
plot.
it fits that movie, and
Yeah.
and scenes like that I think will always be made because they fit. As long as they fit the story, like it'd be terrible if that scene was in Mary Poppins.
Okay, but let me...
Well, I would watch Mary Poppins in.
Probably make it better, but if it was Dick Van Dyke, come here with that stupid Cockney accent, get down, bite the curb, boy. Thump. Yeah, no, it's yeah.
I remember, no, I'll come back to that again. I remember when I saw that scene in the movie, I was thinking, no, I was a young, foolish man. I was thinking, I mean, the guy was stealing his car. You know, I mean, it's not like he just randomly found an innocent person and did that to him.
Context is everything.
Full disclosure, yes, it was wrong and he shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I'm not a total neo-Nazi.
Here's a fun one for you. If you ever feel like you think better in your shower when you're taking a shower, you're probably right.
It's because our head is being massaged by the water.
The warm water actually increases the flow of dopamine, of all things.
Really?
Yeah, so you actually you have the happy hormones rushing around there, and you do actually apparently think better in the shower. So you want to get one of those wet pads and one of those wet marker things that you can use in the shower and be jotting down all those ideas.
Yes. I know someone who turns into Marie Callas when she's in the shower.
Oh yeah.
Is
Yeah.
Marie Callas a singer?
What? Yes. Yes.
Is it Marie Callas?
No,
Okay.
no. If Marie Callas was singing in the shower, there'd be some serious Ghostbusters happening.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Is that a joke? Marie
No.
Callas. Do you know Marie?
Well, we
I
don't
know
know
I've
Marie
heard of her.
Callas. The name
What?
vaguely
Yeah,
rings
I've
a
heard
bell.
of her as a singer, but
Marie
This is the
Callas
thing we
was
didn't
married
ask for
to.
and
Okay,
don't
do you
need to
know Onassis? Aristotle Onassis.
yes.
Okay.
He who married Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah, and who is
His
he married?
first name was Aristotle.
Yeah.
That's a
He
pretty
was
cool
Greek.
name.
He was
It was
Greek.
Greek. It's a common enough name in Greek.
He was the first oil shipping magnate. He invented the super tanker.
All right, okay.
Yep.
Oh, so by invented the super tanker, did they go out and go, do you know what'd be great? That tanker there, but bigger.
With a cape on.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not really inventing something, is it?
I mean,
Well,
Let's just make that bigger.
he expanded the scale. It is like like I know a few other things about Aristotle Onassis.
Okay.
But so do you know the way that Jackie Onassis
is she the person with like a ton of shoes?
no, that's
this is
Maria
John
Imelda
F.
Marx.
Kennedy's wife.
I'm thinking
Yeah, and she was called
Ceausescu's-
Jackie O, and the O is from Onassis.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. Dolphins, right?
yes.
They swim in the sea and they have to come up every 10 minutes or so, roughly, to get air.
Really?
Yep.
Well, because they're mammals.
They're
not
mammals.
fish.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sloth, if you drop him in water, he'll sink. He can hold his breath for 40 minutes.
And then
Really?
die.
That's because they're just so lazy.
They're so lazy. They're just like, I could swim up, but I'm after floating down here, and that's used up a little bit of. I'm just going to wait here for a while.
But can they swim?
That's
Presumably the
mental because-
sloths can swim, actually.
Probably not. They probably just wait till they're at the bottom and then just crawl,
Walk to shore.
crawl their way slowly back.
Sloths are they're not sea creatures. Why?
No, they are
No.
absolutely not. They're
It's
tree
a
creatures.
weird skill to have evolved for something that.
I think it's just they have. If you have something that you can be lazy at it, the sloth.
I
Is
mean,
it. Did you know the sloths die quite regularly because they mistake their own arm for a branch, and they reach for the
heard
other
that,
arm,
actually.
and then they put the grip on that, and then let go with the arm that's actually holding the branch to move it, and then just fall off the tree.
Wow.
Into the water.
Speaking of evolution, they can't poop in the trees either. They live most of their life in the tree, but they have to come out of the tree to take a shit.
Oi.
I didn't know. Ask evolution. Why?
That is a weird thing,
It's funny,
ability
isn't
to lack.
Yeah. It's like we're going to live in the trees all the time, but man, we got to go down there to shit.
Yeah,
Well,
they've-
you
they've
know,
really got
it
skills
keeps your house clean type of thing.
I suppose there is that, but if you shit in a tree, your house is still going to be clean. 'cause
Yeah, but what
the
if you're a flaming...
shit is known for obeying the laws of gravity?
I know, but what if another sloth is under you?
That's management. Management 101. Shit rolls downhill. So yeah, you're looking up. All you're seeing is assholes, but the guy's
Yeah.
looking down. It's fine. Now here's one that.
Oh, wait.
Go on.
Lucy said, sloths usually sleep in trees over water, so that's why they evolved to breathe underwater.
Okay, there you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Apples.
Apples.
Apples. Yeah, you
Good
go into a shop and buy
computers.
an apple. It could be up to, and again, haven't fact checked this, a year old. Now you're wondering how in the name of God could an apple be a
Yes,
year
I
old?
am, because when I buy it and bring it home and leave it there for a week, then it's getting all old
It's-
looking.
Yeah, and sometimes within a day or two. Apparently, farmers often pick the apples in the fall, cover them in wax, hot air dry them, I don't know what that is, and then put them in cold storage. And this keeps them edible and ready to sell for 6 to 12 months.
You know, okay, actually, I do believe that because every now and again you pick up an apple and it feels kind of greasy, and that's the wax on them. But I'm
Yeah.
thinking, this cannot be good for you.
Well,
To
you should wash them anyway.
Well, I
before.
peel my apples with a peeler, like as if, potato peeler
What?
kind of thing.
You
All right.
peel them?
Completely.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Because of that?
Because I don't want to be eating gross skin that's slimy.
If you wash it, it's fine then.
Do you
Yeah.
not
I
just
just
rub it
was-
against your t-shirt?
That's what- and then away you go.
No.
Yeah, but yeah, so there you go. The apple you're eating could be a year old. Do you guys know what the word octothorpe means?
Octothorpe. That's
Yes.
easy to figure out. Octo, something to do with 8.
Or
And
octopus.
then Thorpe.
Yeah.
No idea.
Brilliant. Sherlock
No, wait.
Holmes, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen.
you got half of it.
Yeah,
No,
it
wait,
is.
Octothorpe.
I have no idea.
No,
either.
I don't know what Thorpe means at
It's
all.
the correct name for a hashtag.
Really?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually, I heard once about the history of where the hashtag came from, but I forget that as well.
I want to know why they named it after drugs.
Mm.
It's a weird thing
weird.
to call it.
Yeah.
Oh, if only we had someone who could check why the hashtag
Okay,
is
here we go.
called the hashtag.
The world's longest walk,
How do you mean?
as in the longest walk you could take in the world.
As long as continuous.
Well, yeah, across
Yes.
Australia.
No.
You'd think that at 4,000 kilometers, but no.
No. That's definitely from the bottom of Portugal to the end of Kamchatka.
You would think that, but
Kamchatka.
in Russia.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But it's actually, you're close. It's Magadan in Russia. You can walk without stopping, or not without stopping, but without, getting a boat or whatever, to Cape Town, South Africa, which is a little bit further south than Portugal.
Oh, yes, because you just walk across a canal. A bridge over the canal, I
Yeah,
presume.
presumed somewhere, something like that. Yeah.
Very interesting.
No,
That
you-
is a long walk. How long is it, Barry?
I don't know.
You never have the follow-up thing
No
of-
follow-up. Absolutely no. And no research.
Barry, you're right. Always keep them wanting more.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks' time, I might have that fact. I might say, "Hey, did you know that the longest walk in the world is more than 4,000 miles?"
The word hashtag used to refer to the symbol hash in Twitter. A combination of the word hash from hash mark and the word tag, a way to mark something as belonging to a specific category.
Now, having read all that, I literally have no idea.
Yeah, me neither.
That hasn't added any knowledge to my brain
Yeah.
on what the hell hashtag
Do either of
is.
you guys know what a nerdle is? A nerdle.
I'm
It's
going
a,
to say it's a puzzle for nerds.
N-U-R-D-L-E.
it's a baby nerd.
N-U-R-D. N-U-R-D, not N-E-R-D.
Oh.
N-U-R-D, nerdle.
I have no idea.
Aside from a wonderful word off the tongue when you say it, nerdle, it is actually the name of a lump of toothpaste on your toothbrush.
Really?
Oh.
It's called a nerdle. Yeah. One of the things,
It really does feel like...
does it need a name?
No, exactly. It really doesn't.
It really doesn't, but it has one, so there you
Well,
go.
if you're, you know the way when a kid is being prescribed an amount of toothpaste,
Yes.
you know, they say a pea-sized amount of toothpaste. They could say a pea-sized nerdle.
They could, but
Well,
they
if
don't.
they say nerdle, then they don't need to even specify the size because it's inherent in the name.
No, because you could have a...
Like it's got
Oh,
a,
yeah,
a
okay.
big nerdle and a small nerdle, but I mean...
Medium nerdle. A child-sized nerdle. Speaking of names, things need names. They found in New York a species of ant that exists nowhere else.
Really?
Yeah,
In New York?
evolved in New York for New York. I'm assuming they're more aggressive than regular ants, but they actually named them Manhattan ants.
very
Manhattan
good.
ants.
That's
Yeah.
like...
Is that like real? Is that a true
That's a
story?
real, that's a real thing. Well, again, with the amount of diligence and research I put into
Oh,
all
yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Now, the last one I have is, if there was a hole dug from the top of the world to the center of the planet, how long would it take you to fall to it?
Oh, jeez. Probably 3 hours.
No, nowhere near it.
I'm going to say, based on Mart's no way 3 hours, I'm going to say 7 minutes.
Ah, yeah, you're closer than 3 hours. 19 minutes, apparently.
19
Really?
Yeah, they used to say that if you actually dug a hole right through the planet from one end to the other, right straight through, and you then jumped into it or dropped a measurable
Probably get
object.
Eaten by the dinosaurs that live in the middle of the earth.
Yeah. Well, according to some people, you just be straight through instantly because it's just a flat disc.
Oh, yeah.
But in the circular globe world, you drop your measurable way through, and it is affected by gravity as it's traveling through the planet. And they used to say it was 42 minutes, but some guy now has done a load of maths and said no, it's actually 32 or 38. And then so half of that to get the middle.
19 minutes sounds very fast because like when a plane falls out of the sky, it takes minutes to hit the earth, and a plane is only a couple of miles up. Well, it's about 10 miles or
I
something.
mean, I don't know. I'm not physics.
Yeah, I'm just
No, not a
thinking
clue.
if it takes minutes to fall 10 miles, I don't know. Maybe as well, you see, as you're falling toward the center of the earth, you'd be accelerating. And
No, there is a
presuming-
terminal velocity that you'd
Well, yeah, but
stop
graphic
falling
or not graphic.
faster at.
What's the other thing called that talked about? I mentioned earlier, gravity. Gravity does affect you differently as you're traveling through the Earth because the different
Yeah,
layers
because the
have different amounts of gravity, and then of course as you pass
Yeah.
the center, it's the velocity you have going falling down that keeps you, because you're now technically falling up, and eventually you will get you'll come out of the hole, and your velocity will
And you'll fall into it again.
well, yeah. If it's done properly, you can probably just step off.
well, I'm glad we are discussing the big topics of the day and
Oh, yeah.
figuring this out.
Yeah. So 19 minutes to fall to the center of the Earth. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, very
I kind of, my gut tells me that mathematician guy just made that up. But anyway,
But the actual answer was, if you're ever asked the question, what do you call that? The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. What's the answer to the question?
life, the
42.
universe, and everything.
Yeah, it's 42.
Yeah.
It's actually it was 42 minutes to fall right through the planet.
Oh,
So life, the universe. If you dig the hole and do that,
yeah.
the question will be answered.
And you know that they did try digging. Well, obviously they weren't going to try to dig to the middle of the earth. They just tried to dig a hole as deep as they could. They've been doing it now for 19 or 20 years or something. and they're a couple of miles down.
The deepest point I think we have is just over 2 miles in South Africa in a diamond mine, and it's a couple of miles down, and it's apparently insane down there because it's incredibly hot all the time because that far down into the earth. But it has its own. It takes so long just to get up out of it that people don't. The workers down there just live down there.
Oh
so
my
there's
God.
an entire economy of getting
Yeah.
everything that a city needs, or a small town, or whatever you want to call it, down there, as in including booze, sex workers, drugs, all that stuff.
All the essential.
All the essentials, yeah, and probably,
Is it?
probably food as well, I don't know. But yeah, it's apparently it's meant to be just an insane...
Is that deeper than the Marianas Trench? How deep is the Marianas Trench?
Is that in the sea?
That's the sea trench.
Yeah, no,
that's-
it is. Yeah, but how deep is that?
I don't know. I
think
don't
it's
know
deeper
the
than
number,
that.
but it's very.
No, I think the Mariana Trench is deeper.
Yes, I
But
would
I'm
think
not
so
sure.
too.
Yeah, I
would
also
so
think
too.
so.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So yeah,
Very
there-
good.
What do you got for us, Mert?
Do you know, I don't really have anything for you because I just didn't really think or anything really.
All right.
But off the top of my head, I'm just going to say, Russia. What about it?
What is going on there?
I know. Normally, I kind of like try to bring something interesting or new. This is like the biggest news story that's happened in the last couple of weeks. So
What?
everyone already
This is the
knows
biggest.
it.
You're talking about during the weeks where we found out Ryan Turbity got a few extra euros in his wage packet, and you're saying Russia is the big story?
Actually, okay. Well, firstly, I'm just going to say for our listeners who are not from Ireland, there is an Irish TV presenter, correct me if I tell any of the story wrong, but who got into, I guess, trouble. There's always a bit of controversy because there are a few key presenters in Irish television that are paid what is commonly considered an excessive amount of money. Like, what do we remember what his salary is?
345,000, I think, or something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that. And I mean, that's more than the president of America makes. And I mean, I always say this. I know I'm overly watching American stuff generally, but it's like you look at someone like Jimmy Kimmel. You may or may not like Jimmy Kimmel, but even if you don't, he's talented. He has an interesting show and he gets big guests on. And look at the people in Irish TV, they're just not that good. They're okay for the older demographic generally, I think. But a lot of them aren't. Like probably the best presenter to come out of Ireland is Graham Norton. He's on British TV.
He's on British TV.
You know, so it's like...
He's fantastic.
Yeah, but it's just, there's a big, huge deal about this. And this actually goes on to another thing, which is definitely a bugbear of mine. And again, I'll just go into the detail for all of our non-Irish listeners. The way that RTE get money, I guess,
Some of it, yeah.
or some of it, is they charge a TV license. So if you have a TV and if you watch RTE, you have to pay RTE.
If you have a television in your house, regardless of whether you
Well,
watch
exactly.
RTE or
I
not.
was going to build up to
Yeah,
that because the logic is, if you watch Netflix, you pay Netflix money. If you watch Disney Plus, you pay Disney money. But RTE have rigged the system to say if you have a TV, you have to pay us money. And even if you literally don't ever watch the RTE channels, you still have to pay the money.
I do have to a point of what's the word?
Order?
Point of order. It's actually the Irish government that make you pay
Yes.
the television license fee. And now they're saying, well, when we say television, we mean a screen of any kind, whether that be a television screen, computer screen, phone screen, tablet screen, you got to pay the money.
Yeah, because what people have started doing is just saying, oh yeah, well, I don't have a TV. I just only use my laptop.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they brought that in yet, but they're rewriting the law to say any screen at all. If there's a screen in your house, give us money.
Yeah.
But like,
And it does pay the wages of these hyperinflated so-and-sos in RTE, but it also pays for programming as well. It makes TV shows. Do you know what I mean? Like
It makes the news.
It makes the news. It makes current affairs shows.
And we're very lucky that we have a relatively independent news,
Yeah, I will say that's probably the only thing in the defense of their current affairs shows are good, and their news is, and I know for a fact that most people would disagree with this, relatively unbiased, say, compared to America, where there is no real objective news. There's just two sides putting spin on things, kind of real Russia style.
And of course, as a nation, we're small. We've only got 5 million people. And if we didn't have the television license, we probably wouldn't have a national broadcaster. And we would be relying on everything from
another
around us.
point of order that this is how they collect this money. What I think they should do is just cut the shit and say, give me money, bitches, and just take my money out of my salary. They should just, because it is a tax. What they do instead is they're trying to basically say, well, if you happen to have a screen, well, hello, we're on planet Earth in the Western world. Every single person has a screen. Just take the damn money. Cut the crap, because what happens is they employ people who go around door to door.
And that's the problem. You can't change it because those people are civil servants. And trying to get a civil servant out of their job or change their job or even empty the drawer in their desk without there being a hoopla about it, you can't
It's just
do it.
how
You can't
much
do it.
are they paying these people to walk around housing estates, knocking on doors and asking, do you have a TV license? Let me see it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a salary of a human being to get 100 quid off, 160 quid off.
But it goes
somebody.
further than that, and not just television licenses. Like, what I don't understand is this thing of, if you see somebody doing something, if you, say you're doing a thing and then you see someone else doing a thing, the same thing you're doing but better, surely you're going to go, do you know what? That's a much better way of doing this job that I've been trying to do. I'm going to do it that way, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've seen in different countries much better ways of doing things than what we do them here in Ireland, for example. And yet, and the reason they can't just go, that's a much better way of doing it, let's do it that way, is because they would be either having to retire civil servants or move civil servants, and you can't. They just won't have it. And it's crazy. Like, one example is in either Australia or New Zealand, you pay tax on petrol and diesel in your car to drive it around. Mm-hmm. And you pay quite a bit.
We do too, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
On top of all our other taxes as well. But we pay tax on the petrol and stuff we put in our car, but we also pay road tax, and we also pay tax when we get work done on the garage. We also pay tax when we get the NCT done on the car. All those things, there's tax and tax and tax and tax. But in Australia, you don't have road tax. It's worked into the price of the petrol.
Really?
Yeah, it's or New Zealand. It's one of those.
See,
countries.
that makes sense, because the more you
Then-
use, the more you pay.
It's 100% fair. You can't have a fairer system than that. The more you're on the road, the more you're driving, the more tax you're paying. And then if you're a haulier, if your job is to move stuff from A to B,
All that.
you basically still have to pay for your petrol or your diesel or whatever. But every year when you're doing your taxes, you submit your receipts with your taxes, and then you get a rebate on your fuel. So it works out really. It encourages people to be in those businesses. It encourages people to have bus companies and all that kind of stuff. But you just get it just makes sense. And yet we can't turn around and say that, because there's a whole crowd of people working in an office down in Shannon whose job it is to send you out the letters to say, oh, your tax is up on your car, you need to go and pay the money for that.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure there's tons of other examples of that around the world as well. Like they do something so much better than we do.
But the thing that started all this was
Ryan Tuberty.
No, the Ryan Tuberty, but before that,
Russia.
Russia.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right, yeah. Wait, no, we've gone on to a way more important issue here.
Ryan Tuberty.
Yeah, Ryan Tuberty, this Irish presenter's big salary.
So, but basically, so what do
I mean, no, there's nothing really to say, because I'm just going to be stating something everyone knows. Like, it was a literal, unbelievable turn of events in Russia that just was shocking.
Yeah.
When
now? So then the guy that was the head of the
Wagner Group.
the Wagner Group, I forget his name.
Prozagin,
Yeah, Prozagin.
something like that.
So he has gone into the country to the north.
Yeah,
Belarus, and I would give him 3-4 weeks before he's found dead with a cup of tea.
That's the thing I don't understand. I think he did the march on Russia thinking he was going to get a lot more support than he did, and then he's like halfway there thinking, "Oh crap, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
This is actually working." And I think he just knew, if I get there, I'm not going to win this fight. So when Lukashenko, whatever his name is, the Belarusian president,
Lukashenko,
and that's a total puppet state of Russia,
Yeah.
kind of somehow brokered a deal where your men get to walk away. That makes Putin look so weak and so bad. Like, as a dictator, it's shocking that Putin took that deal. I'm amazed at that. I literally don't understand at all how that went the way it did.
Well,
It's
I mean,
very strange.
No, but
it is very, very strange.
I don't have much to say on this, believe it or not. But probably Putin was happy with it because it left all the soldiers, presumably the Wagner Group, to go back fighting against the Ukrainians. I have no idea if they've
It's
done
just that it makes him look so bad.
Oh yeah,
But anyway,
yeah.
so what have you got for us today, Don?
So one thing that I wanted to talk about was last week, myself and Linda were going to enter this podcast into a kind of a new podcast competitions. Like, do you have a new podcast type of thing? Okay. So Linda was filling in all the paperwork, and at the bottom of the paperwork, she came to the small print. Is it now for the legal stuff? When she read the legal stuff, there was a thing there saying, it said on applying for this competition, and without trying to
You don't need to give the word for word.
Yeah, without trying to do the word for word thing, or rather trying to paraphrase too much, too exactly. They were basically saying, if you merely apply for this competition, so Linda said, I was going to enter the podcast into the Go Loud podcast competition, and I just read the small print before submitting the application. I'm glad I did it. It's mad stuff. In reading it right, they would own, if I'm reading it right, they would own everything to do with the podcast for perpetuity. What does perpetuity mean?
Forever.
Oh, forever. Okay. Just by submitting the application. They have another part in the terms and conditions that says that you waive any moral rights by submitting stuff to them. That sounds like So it's ridiculous, isn't
basically,
it?
what are they called? The Go Loud.
Go Loud.
Go Loud podcast competition.
Go Loud But you know, the sad thing is that that's probably a standard thing in a lot of these competitions.
Yeah. I mean, it's really bad because it's literally, imagine, let's say, because everyone and their dog is doing a podcast these days, but imagine that a company can just decide, let's try to just get legal ownership over as many of them as possible.
Hoovering up all
in case, exactly. Yeah, hoover up a million, and if one becomes a hit, boom, they own it.
Yep.
That's shocking bad.
Yeah.
So,
that's amazing. The most amazing thing about that, to me, is that Linda read the small print.
Yes.
Round of applause for Linda for reading the small print, because first human in history. Have you read the terms and conditions? I actually have.
Okay, on to a totally different thing. Did you know that if you have 100 cows, okay, 100 cattle, and they all have baby cows, okay, the cow is either going to be male or female, probably. If it's female, good, because they will. If you're a dairy, let's say specifically if you're a dairy farmer, if you're a dairy farmer, the cow will have let's say a female cow, which means you can get milk from it, which is good. That cow is worth something.
You don't have to specify female cow.
A cow, if you have a cow.
Yeah.
If you have a male calf, a bull,
yep.
The odds are that calf is going to be slaughtered within days or a week or something. Now, in places like New Zealand, the bull is allowed to grow up to a certain, I think, I don't know if it's 12 weeks or something, and then it's slaughtered.
This is what your life could be life.
Yeah, it's literally that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Whereas a lot of other countries, they're like, oh, it's a
bull.
It's a bull. Kill it straight away.
No, I don't want to go on a tangent here, and I don't know. I don't want to interrupt your story either. But
no, that's it.
Oh, okay. When you're just talking, because I don't know, I like meat a lot, and I did try to be a vegetarian once when I saw some documentary about lambs being killed, and I was like, oh man, that's awful.
Science the lambs.
But then it's just hard. It's really hard to be a vegetarian because it's just meat is so nice. But as we all know now, there's like lab grown meat and stuff like that. Oh
yeah, there is. Yeah.
What's your thought on lab grown meat?
As long as it's tasty, I'm absolutely okay with it.
I mean, it's literal meat, so why wouldn't it be tasty?
Yeah, if it tastes like a sausage, I'll eat it.
So basically, what they do is they just take cells from a pig or from a cow or whatever, and grow it in a lab. No actual pig or cow is ever killed. You get the meat and you can eat it. Would you eat a human burger made that way?
Soylent Green.
I'd taste it.
So that's a yes. You would eat a human burger.
Yeah. No, hold on. I might not eat the entire burger.
Well, I mean, yeah,
I would taste it. I'd be like, you know what? This isn't for me. It's not very tasty.
Well, let's say you ate it, right? Like, because then imagine you could do designer human burgers, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, like the Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, like get a cell from like,
Well, maybe not Marilyn Monroe. She's been dead a long time.
No, but like, imagine eating a George Clooney burger. You know?
Yeah, Brad Pitt.
Pitt.
Why is it just Ocean's 11? I don't.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is, would you eat your own burger, a Barry burger?
Barry burger.
It even has a good ring to it, actually.
It does,
that
the
marketing
Barry
does
burger,
itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barry
Again,
burger.
I'd probably taste it. 'Cause
I'd
it's
have-
food. Look, it's edible food. That's not going to kill you. So I would definitely taste it. I'm very open to tasting food that I've never tasted before.
But wait a second.
Might not finish it.
So, okay, here's a question that I
Sorry.
literally have no idea about.
Yeah.
The reason we're okay with eating an animal's DNA, basically, that has nothing to do with our DNA.
Oh, yeah.
So is that not the argument against eating a Barry burger?
Well,
What?
Because it's human DNA.
But
We'd
hold
be
on.
eating the human
Does it
DNA.
have to be a burger? Because I'm thinking now if they could shape it like a steak.
well, yeah, of course they would. Yeah, you could grow it whatever way you wanted.
Yeah. Or like you'd really fool people then, because then you're like, oh, how would you think of your own steak, your Barry steak, and you'd be like, didn't think much of that. Now it's like, oh, try these Barry
Barry fish fingers.
fish fingers. Yeah, these Barry pork sausages.
I mean, it seems weird, but it's way more humane and, I guess, morally right to eat a human burger grown that way than it is to eat the burger made from a calf that never got to grow up.
Do you see a point in the future where we have almost like Star Trek replicators, except where you go up to it and you kind of, I don't know, some of your flakes of skin in there and say, make me a fry.
I'd say it'll be more likely that you'll see a point in the future where you'll just be eating little bugs that are cooked.
Oh yeah, bugs are
No,
huge.
but after that point.
Well, I mean, I guess because already lab-grown meat is a thing. It's just that it's expensive.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
to
And that'll
do
come
at
down,
scale and all.
definitely. Yeah.
I mean, I can see it being a thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Although
that's
I
very
think
interesting.
there's always going to be a taboo about eating human meat, even though when you process it and obtain it that way, there's really no moral,
You're not going to get
logical
what's it called,
argument to be
CDJ,
made.
Creutzfeldt
Jakob disease.
Yeah, that's the one.
Interesting tangent.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't even know how that happened. Oh, yeah, you were talking
I
about
love
killing
it.
cows, and I was like, oh,
Yeah. Hey, so do you think there's anything wrong in killing a cow when he's like days old?
Makes no odds.
Right?
I mean, well, I'm going to
Really?
say straight up, if you read the Bible, God put the animals there for us to eat. That's explicitly
Okay.
their purpose. But there's
Do
one
you
thing.
think?
There's one thing eating the animal and slaughtering it for eating and etc.
No, this
It's
is slaughtering purely for it costs money to feed it.
So they just kill it just because they don't want it.
Oh, yeah, it's
and then
uneconomical.
Throw it in a pile.
And gets shipped off to other companies
Yeah,
that use it. in
it still
dog
gets
food
eaten,
and-
so
yeah.
it's not wasted, if you know what I mean. But what I was going to say is, it's probably the right starting point isn't to start, oh, don't kill animals because whatever. The right starting point is treat them humanely during their life and slaughter them as humanely as possible when you're going to kill them to eat them. And then once we get there, then you can start doing all the other nice frills. And I think the EU is fairly good at regulating that kind of stuff. But then you look over in the States and it's like, oh, that's just a mess. It's awful.
But every country has its tolerances.
Hmm.
As in, and I mean, by tolerances, I mean how much crap is allowed to get into your food before they go, okay, we better not,
Actually,
better
yeah.
pull up on that now.
Now you're talking something else. And
Yeah.
that reminds me of, this is probably, we don't want to go off on too much of a tangent. But when we discovered antibiotics, it was one of the greatest discoveries of man. Because, you're able to kill these things that were
Killing us.
killing us, exactly. And then they decided, hey, let's use these just to,
Everything.
for cattle, just give it in the food for all of them.
Yeah.
And essentially, by doing that, you're exposing your antibiotics to pathogens that are going to evolve and adapt to be immune to those antibiotics. Thus, essentially, if you look at it that way, all antibiotics have a certain amount of uses before they become useless. And we're using those uses on just cattle so we can have food and
Yes.
burgers. It's like, I don't understand why there isn't some kind of a authority that can stop that somewhere, somehow.
They
It just
probably
seems such a
tried, but then
waste.
someone said, here's a pile of cash, shut your mouth.
yeah.
And then went, okay.
Anyway,
Universities. Does anyone know the major difference between a university and a college?
In Ireland.
Let's say in Ireland, yeah.
Okay.
well, that's weird because I went to University College Dublin, so they're
Yeah,
it was
exactly. Yeah.
both. I
A
didn't know there was a
university
difference.
refers to a large institute offering both undergraduate and graduate programs, and a college could be community colleges, technical schools, and liberal art colleges. That it's a very loose thing, especially considering in Ireland where we've named all the RTCs colleges now.
Yeah.
So-
And well, yeah, they're changing, and they'll change that again in 5 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think. What is the biggest university in the world?
in the
Or
world.
what's the university that takes the most students?
Oh, it's probably something like LU or something like that. Los
The
Angeles.
University of Life.
No.
I'm thinking Los Angeles or something like that.
I have no idea.
No clue.
It is the
Or Calcutta.
Indira Gandhi National University.
Barry, you were on the nose there, right?
Is the largest university
like-
that have 3.5 million students matriculated.
So nearly as many people as there are in Ireland
Yep.
as students.
Yep.
Getting a degree after being there for what, a week?
No way.
And then going off and getting their job in IT. Oops.
Okay, so what's the oldest university in the world? How old is it?
Oxford.
I have no idea.
And it's almost as old as the Incan Empire.
It is, in fact, the University of Bologna. Bologna?
Did you just come up with that part, or do you think?
There's something about it. I think I had it in one of my facts a few weeks
Because
ago.
it sounds semi-plausible, and I don't know
Yeah,
enough
the
about
Oxford-
history to know is
well,
that
the
ridiculous.
Oxford, I know the Oxford University was around a couple of hundred years at the same time as the Incan
Jeez.
Well, listen to this, Barry.
Bologna.
Bologna, yeah. The University of Bologna in Italy was established in 1088. Okay, whereas the second oldest is Oxford, which was established in 1096 or 1167. There's a gap.
That's a big gap.
There's a big gap, yeah. Then there's the University of Salamanca. The Sorbonne was established in 1060 to 1250. Okay.
Oh, they're thereabouts. Everyone had
Yeah.
the same idea at the same time.
And you know Stanford University? How old is that? Stanford in America?
Stanford, America is younger than America.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is 137 years old. Yale,
Same ish.
321 years old. That's why I saw on Rachel's T-shirt there was a 1701.
Ah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah. Our college is Trinity College. How old is it?
No idea.
One of the oldest in Europe. It was founded in 1592.
Wow, like 500 years after the first one.
Hey,
Bit slow to catch
it's
up
like
there, weren't
one
they?
of the
It might be one of the oldest ones, but it took them a while, didn't it?
UCD, 1854.
Brand new, it's a baby.
Yeah. And that's it. What is the dead man's hand?
Is that a hand in poker?
Yep.
I don't
Yeah,
know
it's,
what-
it's also in the
Yeah.
Motorhead song,
Do you know
Ace of
what it is?
Spades.
Yeah, the Ace of Spades.
I don't know what hand it is.
I don't
though.
know what hand it is either. It's
The dead man's hand is a card. It was, you heard of Wild Bill Hitchcock.
Hickok.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you hear him?
Yes.
He was a gunslinger and he's a folk hero of the American Old West.
Died in Deadwood.
Yeah, and he was shot by Jack McCall in 2nd of August 1876. And when he died, the hand that was in his hand was, what was it all? It was 2 aces and 2 eights.
Oh man, that's
both
not a bad hand.
black.
That is not a bad hand.
Yeah. And so that's the dead man's hand. I don't know what the fifth card was.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
I mean,
matter.
yeah, it's just
If you have two aces,
two pair,
two
basically.
yeah, if you have two aces,
I think,
eights, black,
and some people
Unless somebody
refer-
else happened to have two aces and two eights as well, and then it would be like,
then the fifth card comes into play. Yeah.
Anyway, that's
But Jack McCall. Interesting thing about that in the TV show Deadwood, the actor that played Jack McCall.
Oh, I didn't see it actually.
Oh, watch Deadwood!
Yeah.
It's a fantastic show.
it's a great show, but I will say one thing, and this isn't a spoiler, it's kind of to give people a heads up.
Hmm.
You know, many shows get axed kind of before they get a chance to wrap it up properly. That's one of them.
No.
Because I remember when I was watching it, the last season kind of really was building up to this crescendo of the big showdown that was going to happen at the end, and then like the baddies were riding into town, and then the episode ended, and then just axed it and never made more. Unless they came back and maybe made a movie after, but at the
I think
time,
they did, and because I'm thinking, I'm sure the story finished. But
maybe, yeah, when I was watching
but
it at the time,
it doesn't
yeah.
matter. Like a lot of those shows, yes, okay, they get axed and they don't finish. It doesn't matter. The journey is still
I agree with you.
fantastic.
I agree with you.
Really good shows
I know
like
of a
that.
friend who's hellbent. If they hear, nah, that show was axed before its time, I'm not going to watch it and commit myself to a story that I'm not going to get a completion of.
Yeah,
But yeah, I agree with you.
yeah.
It's still enjoyable.
It's still enjoyable. And Deadwood, but they obviously liked the actor that played Jack McCall in it because he came back like a season or two later playing a completely different character.
Oh, right, okay.
Like from a
wearing his hat real low so nobody would
Yeah,
recognize him.
yeah.
That's
basically
weird because you would really think
clean-shaven.
they wouldn't get away with that.
Oh, but I mean, it was
Star Trek have
it was
done it a few times.
chalk and cheese.
Well,
like.
I don't know the actor who plays Wayoon. Do you know in Deep Space Nine? Jeffrey Combs. he was in, I'd say, 24 different roles in Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
But an amazing one is, you know, the actor who plays Tom Paris in
Oh, yeah.
Voyager.
He was in a TNG episode as a character just like it. I don't know if you remember the one where Wesley Crusher was in the academy and
No.
there was this kind of, anyway.
I do. I remember that one, yeah.
Blocked out a
and
lot of Wesley Crusher stuff.
Oh,
Actually, in that episode, there was also, what's her face? She was in Grey's Anatomy later on.
I don't know Grey's Anatomy at all.
Oh, okay. Neither do I, for the record. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
A
we will
show
move
on random facts there. We're going to move on to
Yeah,
the
we
future
are
of cinema.
going to move on to the future of cinema.
Wonderful stuff.
So, I suppose, does anybody have any kind of...
I would like to start to talk about a movie that I haven't seen.
Can I ask you both a question first
Oh,
before
yes.
we go into it? Just to ask, what do you even interpret by the question?
Okay,
now I know that
that's a good question.
we came up with the topic, so we should know. But I know we didn't discuss it or really hammer it out. So
Yeah, we don't
may
do
have-
meetings. So
Yeah, we may have different perspectives on, you know, the future of cinema. That's the title. But I know in my mind, I'm imagining that to be also including streaming and TV shows and just general kind of that kind of content.
Oh God, no! I just look the cinema, and that's it.
Cool.
I didn't look at TV or streaming or anything.
Yeah.
My interpretation is more like Mart's. And it's for the near to 20 years ahead in the future.
Oh man, I was looking at like 10,000 years down the road.
Yeah,
No, I
well,
wasn't.
And I should say as well, Barry, you
Yeah.
are an actual real McCoy actor, so you should be. I'm expecting you to bring some gold to this one.
Oh yeah, okay,
No pressure.
all right.
Well, tell us what you name a big thing you did or something.
Well, I haven't done anything big.
Well, you
so
were in
that's impossible.
Rustaroon. You were
Yeah,
a scummy drug
So,
dealer. So
for-
you're just method acting.
essentially. So, I mean, I've been acting for a long time, for a good few years, and mostly stage stuff. But I have done some stuff for TV, like Rustaroon, which, again, for our non-Irish people, that's an Irish language soap opera, which airs exclusively on an Irish language channel. So.
Paid for by our TV licenses
Paid
that we were
for-
bitching about earlier. So
Yeah, paid for that,
maybe
yeah.
we shouldn't be.
Yeah, and I've done a load of made-for-TV movies and historical reconstructions and stuff like that on TV. Acting is just one of the most funnest things you can do. So yeah, I really enjoy it. But what I wanted to talk about was a movie I haven't seen, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called The Congress.
I have never even heard of it.
No,
I heard of it because we were talking about it right before we left the house.
oh,
Yeah.
so The Congress. The Congress.
Mary Margaret
Is it a new
brought
movie?
it up, Barry.
No, it's from 10 years ago. It was it debuted at Cannes in 2013, and it
Yeah.
got a cinematic release in 2014. It had an $8 million budget and made $360,000 at the cinema. So obviously
Whoa.
crashed.
It got 6.5 though, I think,
It got 6.5.
on IMDb. I think
The score.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
6.5 or
But- okay.
6.4. I think.
It basically, the story of it is it stars Robin Wright as herself, kind of.
Who's Robin Wright?
Robin Wright, The Princess Bride, Game of House of Cards. What else was she in?
Is she the wife in House of
Penny.
Cards?
Yeah, Penny in not
Jenny.
Jenny from Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she kind of plays herself, but insofar as that her version of herself is that she was difficult to work with, and her career stalled right after The Princess Bride, which is she made when she was quite young. Her agent then sets up a meeting with a studio head who offers her a deal. So they will use technology to map and record every movement, word, expression, and emotional reaction that she can do digitally, and create an AI version of Robin Wright, and then pay her a pile of money, and they get to use that in perpetuity.
Is that a real thing?
That means forever.
Which is forever.
Yeah. No, that's not a real thing. There's a movie.
Oh, in the movie. I
Yeah.
thought that you were saying that's... Oh, well, that's
Mark
fascinating.
looking at
That's,
Jurassic Park. Oh my god!
the dinosaurs are coming.
So they give her a lot of money to do this, and then in exchange, the real actress Robin Wright, or the character that Robin Wright was playing, which was Robin Wright, could never act again. So that was the deal they gave her.
Oh.
We're going to take everything, your voice, your movements, your expressions, your emotions, everything that you do as an actor or actress, give you a pile of money, but you can never act again, right? And she agrees, and the AI version of her becomes a superstar, and she discovers that the contract expands beyond any boundaries that she could possibly have imagined, right? So there's an awful lot in there, because obviously with the AI and ChatGPT, surprise, surprise, that rears his head again, I think that's one of the things that's really interesting. But this is 10 years ago. Also in the movie was a scene in which Tom Cruise has managed to regain and retain his popularity thanks to Top Gun.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's
which
a very
Wow.
prophetic movie.
yeah, exactly. And also the general public using the internet in it to present a negative-free version of themselves and to escape their daily lives, which that's what they do now. But
Yeah.
like in 2013, again, was fairly out there. But the reason I was when I was reading up on the movie, I was kind of struck by the whole fact that we were still in a writer's strike, and they're talking about how one of the things they're talking about is that you could turn around and ask the AI, say you could try to write the script for Lethal Weapon 4 or 5, but then you could go to the AI and say, hey, write me the script for Lethal Weapon 5 and do it 6 or 7 times and then just take the best bits of each one that it does and try and build a script out and then go to Hollywood and say, there you go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well, you're doing a little bit of work, I guess.
Definitely,
But-
though, that particular topic that you're talking about is something that I find interesting because I don't know if you've heard of the movie The Flash that just came out,
Yes.
I've heard of it, haven't seen it.
and it's tanked terribly.
Heard
Has
of
it?
Yeah, but one of the things see, all these mega blockbuster superhero movies cost hundreds of millions to make, and then they get the main actor to go and do all these tours and do all these shows and be at all the talk shows and stuff promoting the movie. But the main actor, see, it's like the DC universe just cannot get a break.
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller, yeah, exactly. He apparently, and I'm only going to say this is what I've seen in the media,
Allegedly.
he
You
comes across as an asshole completely.
If you put the word allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. No, but
you're
there's all
covered.
sorts of things like drunk driving.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, like choking a woman in a bar,
Yeah.
all sorts of things like that. It's just like, he seems like, maybe again, it's one of those things. He's a young guy who hit it so big so early on and he wasn't able to handle the fame. And there's probably, that's what's really going
I
on. But at the
remember
same time,
After I was in Rust and Ruin, I didn't do any of that stuff.
oh, yeah. But it's just, the thing is, when back in the old days, you're doing a movie, you hope your actor will kind of keep his nose clean for the next, 6 months while the promotions are going on and all that, and then away he goes, and you don't care if he goes and does anything after that. But now with these big cinematic universes that they're trying to build, and there's obviously the MCU, there's the DCEU, but there was also, I'm sure I can't remember what, I think it was Universal Studios were trying to do
A Hammer.
a Hammer one, with all the horror movies. So you're suddenly finding yourself, if you pick an actor, you are betting a house that this guy doesn't have any, or girl, doesn't have any, a woman, doesn't have any skeletons in their closet.
I
and
sound
they're not
like
gonna-
Monty Python now.
Yeah, I know. I'm just starting to realize, don't be so old school in your phraseology. But another one, do you know Jonathan Majors, who is Kang? If you look at the first kind of era of the MCU, where Thanos was the big bad guy, and Thanos, that went on for about 10 years with the what do you call them, Infinity Stone storyline. Now that's done, and now they're kind of telling a new big, years-long expanding storyline with a new big bad guy that's going to expand over 10 or 20 movies. And that particular villain is called Kang.
Okay,
Kang
I
the
heard of
Conqueror.
that, yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Well, he is one of the bigger characters in the comics and the character itself. That's why it's all about the multiverse now, because
Yeah.
he's a multiversal person. Like, did you
And
watch
what did you say the actor was called? Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors?
Okay.
Did you watch Ant-Man? Quantum Mania.
No, I haven't seen
No,
Quantum
not
Mania
yet.
yet. No,
Yeah.
not yet.
Well, he's the big bad guy in that, and he's going to appear in a lot.
That's his introduction.
No, he actually got introduced, believe it or not, and to me, it was a perfect introduction at the end of Loki.
I didn't watch
crap, we
Loki.
didn't watch the
Loki
end of
is
Loki either.
definitely one of, like, if I look at all of the, and this is another bit of a conversation that I'd like to go and have maybe later on in this conversation about future of cinema, is how the cinematic stories are now spilling out to the TV in the
Yeah.
streaming services. There's Star Wars and
Star Trek.
Star Trek and all those. Well, actually, Star Trek was traditionally always a TV show, but Star Wars. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. But Star Wars was always primarily cinema, and now it's spilled over. And of course, all the MCU stuff was all cinema, and then suddenly there was WandaVision and all those.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jonathan Majors was there. This is our guy. He's going to be the big bad. We are betting that this guy is going to be our featuring in the next dozen movies over the next decade.
Yeah.
And then it came out. His girlfriend is like, he's beating me. He broke my finger. He, bruised me and all this kind of stuff. And I was reading all this, and it's just like, what are they going to do? you kind of can't recast him.
You can.
And it was such a
you
big
100%
deal.
can.
You could.
Look what they did to Kevin Spacey. Booted him off House of Cards. Booted him off a film he was made. The world is not the world is not enough. That's James Bond, but something like that. And literally just brought in another actor and refilmed the scenes and just went to you. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can't 100%.
But
and I don't think anyone would have anything against that if we as a viewing public found out that this guy's a scumbag who hits women. I don't think everyone. Well, some people might, but they're also in that same bracket, so fuck them. But normal people aren't going to be like, they're going to be like, yes, get rid of him.
I should say though, just to be very clear,
Allegedly,
but actually, I've actually looked into this. The court case is coming up in August, but already I can tell you for an absolute fact, he definitely didn't do it. He has this crazy psycho ex that totally tried to tank his career because he broke up with her. And that's literally what happened. And there's like multiple different evidence. There's like CCTV footage. There's body cam footage of cops. There's the driver.
Man.
There's dozens.
Well,
witnesses.
she's just been sent to jail then, or hospital or something.
Anyway, my point is though, the like if I was say an executive in Disney or in the DCEU now, and I'm looking at we're going to have to get an actor. And this actor is going to be not just in a movie, they're going to be in 3 or 4 of their own movies in the next 10 years.
Plus,
and also in multiple other movies as
and
appearances.
TV shows.
So suddenly it looks very appealing. You could hire a person, and then again you'll have something like Robert Downey Jr. He was a good actor, but not huge in 2008. He did Iron Man. Fast forward 12 years, and he's telling the Marvel Studios, give me personally 100 million quid to appear in your movie, or I won't appear in it. And you can't do an Avengers movie without Iron Man.
Yep.
So, once the actor gets big, whereas if you could do exactly what you're talking about in that movie, get someone, film, whatever you call it, capture them into the computer, you know, and you can just use their likeness. And it's not like back in the day when, do you remember when Brandon Lee died?
It was Uncanny Valley.
And they had to kind of finish off the movie with, that was hard to do and a big deal. These days, it's just as easy to film and even make up an actor. Why capture?
Have you seen, actually, sorry, go on.
Well, no, I'm just saying, I would imagine from a movie producing perspective, it's got to be looking appealing, particularly if you're going to be, this is someone that we need to keep clean for the next 10 or 15 years.
And this isn't a new thing. Like if you read up on any of what were colloquially called the stars and starlets of early Hollywood. It is littered with stories of the studios and back in them days, the studios literally owned you. You signed a contract with a studio and that was it. You made films for that studio and that was it. You didn't go off and do independence. You didn't go off and do anything else. You worked for MGM or you worked for
Paramount,
I can't think of any other studio. You work for them and that was it. And they would have you, and they gave you grueling schedules where you'd be filming 18 hours a day and 9 days a week somehow, and no time off. And then when you weren't doing that, you were promoting or you were recording an album so they could They milked every drop. So of course they were giving these stars every drug imaginable to keep them up when they needed them up and put them to sleep when they wanted them to put them to sleep. So that's been forever in Hollywood. So I'm sure there are studio heads and producers going, oh yeah, this would be great, wouldn't it? A star that would be a star that we just bring out and put in a movie, and would be perfect every single time.
And there is, I think I said this in a previous podcast episode for some reason, but this is one bit of the MCU that I am sad about, because I love the MCU and all the movies and everything and the characters, but it's kind of sad to think Iron Man is now dead.
Yeah.
So he's never going to meet Reed Richards. And in the comic books, these two are always collaborating because they're the two greatest minds, working together.
But the mad thing is, because they're from comic books and because it's so comic book, they can.
They can, but Robert Downey Jr. isn't going to be interested to come back and reprise his role.
It's a different multiverse Iron Man.
So I know what you mean, but then it's not our Iron Man.
I know.
It's like it's like when
who's Reed Richards?
Well, he's like the
John Krasinski.
No, they're not going to. No, I see what you mean. Yeah. No, they're going to use a different actor, but because Reed Richards isn't yet established, they had a bit of. But also even, this is what I was talking about it before, where they're going to do a Secret Wars movie, where in the comic books they just scooped up all these the biggest villains and the biggest goodies and just put them on a planet to fight it out.
Yeah.
And, but if they're going to do that Secret Wars movie, like you're not going to have, Chris Evans come back as Captain America.
No.
So, and if he did come back, he would be, I guess they can use de-aging technology and stuff. I'm just saying, surely, if I was going to craft a whole new universe today, I can definitely see the appeal of saying, let's just CGI all the actors and you can use them forever.
Here's a question I had in my stuff here. Would you pay, your good money to see a film, I'm going to push it to the extreme here, that had AI-generated actors with AI-generated voices? Would you?
I mean, I would be agnostic about how the stuff got made, as long as it's good.
With an AI-generated script?
Yeah.
Again, if it's good, yeah.
Where a computer just went, or someone just literally pressed a button. And this is imaginable. You could literally just put in a few prompts.
Yeah.
And it would make a 1 hour, 35-minute film.
Well, I think you're phrasing this as if it's a challenging question.
No. To some people, it's challenging.
Well, to some, definitely. I would guess for the vast majority of people, they don't care how the movie's made once it's good.
99.9% of people who go to the cinema do not sit through the credits and go, well done, Casper Johnson. You did a good job on the second Foley.
I can definitely see the downside of, introducing AI and CGI, because there's loads of careers that are just going to end. And that's interesting about, the new TV show from Marvel about the Skrulls. I can't remember what it's called now.
Invasion?
Yes, Secret Invasion. Thank you, Barry. Famously, the opening credits of that are all CGI. Sorry, not CGI. They're generated by AI.
They're generated by AI, yeah.
Which obviously is upsetting a lot of people who artists who
Sophie's very anti that.
Of course, because
obviously an artist would be.
An artist is going to be. It's graphic artists and people like that make those things. Then that's how they make their living. It's like I'm open to correction on this. Strangely enough, very well researched fact I'm about to spit out now. Danny Trejo, the actor, the Mexican actor.
Yeah, Machete.
I think he's Mexican. He might be American. I don't know. Anyway, him. He says he doesn't do his own stunts now. He's getting older as well, but like even back in the day, he's saying he doesn't do his own stunts for the simple reason that that's somebody's job, that's somebody's livelihood.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And like I would do the same when I was on sets. I'd have to, because I'm a helpful person. I like helping people. So if I see someone, if the director says move that table 6 inches that way, and I'm standing right beside the table, my instinct is to grab the table and move it. But you have to fight that, because that is the art department's job. It'd be the art department, wouldn't it? It's somebody else's job to do that, and therefore, on the sets of TV, on TV, film, and even in theatre, people have a job, and if you start doing their job, then they won't have a job because
Linda would tell the stories about how if she needed a light plugged out, if she, as doing set design, if you needed a light plugged out, you would need to call the Sparks to plug it out and then move stuff around, and then they would plug it back in again.
And that's and like if a production can afford all of that.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, exactly. It's not like the Marvel are kind of so broke that they can't hire artists to do. And did you see the new Secret Invasion TV show?
I haven't started watching it yet. I nearly started watching last night, but I'm still watching Narcos Mexico. So
I couldn't wait. I had to watch it. But anyway, when you see the credits and you think, oh, AI generated that, and it's terrible. It's so bad.
Well, that's good.
And it's not. Sometimes art is always going to be subjective. So it's clear that. If I saw that and if you told me a person did it, I would be thinking, that's obviously a stylistic choice they've gone with that I don't like.
Followed by the thought of somebody's daughter at Disney has just got a job to do that. Well, it's nepotism because it's not good.
If you're going to get AI to do a task and replace a human, make it good.
But also, vet it. Surely they looked at it before they put it up on the and went,
It could be a stylistic thing and I just don't like it, maybe. Tell me what you think the next time you see it.
I'll watch
just
it.
This is. I kind of knew going in because I'd heard it.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to watch it, and then I'm actually going to comment on this episode when it's up. On that.
Actually, yes. Everyone else, all of our listeners, if you do choose to watch Secret Invasion, tell us what you think about the old credits. Are they as bad as I think they are? I don't know.
Okay. Just for the record, by the way, Danny Trejo was born in Los Angeles.
There we go. Like I said.
That's really interesting. Come here, Mart.
Mm-hmm.
Computer brain. We were last talking about the Congress.
Yes, and how in the storyline of that movie, they basically recorded captured the likeness of a person.
Oh yeah, and I was asking, would you pay a cinema ticket for something that's 100% AI made?
Of course, yeah.
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 I mean, again,
that's interesting.
it saddens me to think that because there's a whole art industry. Like, if you're an artist, it's going to be harder for you to find a job than if you're a computer nerd, because art jobs are not that common. And it saddens me that AI is going to make a lot of those jobs. And I'm quite happy to hear that AI is going to automate a lot of crappy tasks that no human wants to do. And if it generates enough unemployment, then we may have to reduce the working week or introduce universal basic income. There's lots of things that AI displacing jobs is good. Even if in the short term there's a bit of pain or whatever, it is good overall for humanity. Replacing art jobs isn't good. That's sad.
Do you know what that reminds me of? Back during World War II, when some member of Parliament in the UK said, for their they're trying to raise more money for the war effort, and someone said, well, we should just simply cut money to the arts. Like, we're in the war, we don't need it. And Winston Churchill said, if we cut money to arts, he says, why are we fighting the war?
Very good.
Good man, Winston.
Yeah, which was
Good old
he wouldn't
bulldog.
allow any cuts to arts simply because, now again, pulling that off the top of my head, no,
No, that's a good quote. It's got to be true.
it's probably true. Yeah, that was definitely Churchill. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, it's like that, isn't it? It's like these are artists. These are people whose livelihood depends on being creative, and if their job is taken by AI, you can't replace that. Like, you can't.
Well, Barry, you were saying that you focused very much on cinema and cinema. Okay.
Well, I was just joking, but I'm gonna go on.
Oh
there.
no, but here is, while focusing on cinema, here's another whole view to it, which is the streaming services. So our good friend and listener to the show, Aidan, I don't know Aidan's surname. Aidan Smith, real name.
If that is your real name,
So
that's really, really close to Alan Smithy, isn't it?
Aidan Smith is at home like, hey, stop laughing at my name.
You know who Alan Smithy is?
No.
He's the name you see on films where the director goes, "You've done what to my movie? Take my name off it. I don't want anything to do with this."
Oh really?
Yeah, Alan
Funny.
Smithy.
Interesting.
Alan Smithy.
So,
Alan Smith.
Aidan
Smith.
put in loads of Aidan gave us a few very good interesting points.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things he was talking about is that streaming is going to be detrimental to the cinema. Okay, and
Oh, I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
now
100%.
now one of the things we're talking about at home though is that there's many times in the past that we've said like, oh yeah, streaming is going to be detrimental.
No, what we were saying,
Or,
TV.
or yeah, we've said it many times that this is going to be detrimental.
TV is
to
going to
cinema.
kill the cinema.
Yeah.
And then they said, VCRs, that's going to kill the cinema.
We said, COVID is going to kill the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
What else did we say? Virtual reality is going to kill the cinema.
Probably just said that at some point before Lawnmower Man came out. And
But one of the things that
one thing we do know for a fact is that video killed the radio star.
it did.
R.I.P.
So there's a handful of streaming services like Apple, Netflix, Disney, and Amazon, and they're buying up the infrastructure of what is currently the current movies and things. So, for example, Disney has bought Fox and Marvel. Amazon is buying people. Apple owns loads.
Wait,
of stuff.
Amazon's buying people.
Amazon is buying.
For how they treat them in warehouses and whatnot as well.
Yeah.
They're
enough.
buying.
I'm not surprised.
They're all buying. You get the idea.
They're
Yeah,
buying
all
into-
the intellectual properties
Yeah.
are being bought up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting that the point that now Aidan was making a lot of points, and Aidan isn't here. He really should have been. So I'm not butchering his points, but here I go.
Butcher though.
Butcher away. He was saying that when you think about it, when you have the likes of Disney, okay, Disney make loads of their money from mixing loads of money from the parks and everything that they have. So if they have like a Pirate Mountain, they're going to do loads of Pirate the Caribbean stuff. If they have a Star Wars set. They're going to make more Star Wars films because the kids will go to the Star Wars sets. So what we have is, in a lot of cases, it's rewarding for the cinemas to rehash the old IPs they have, which leads to not a lot of new stuff being generated, you know?
Ultimately, I think that's because movie production is at such a high standard now that it's just really, really expensive. So it's
For a blockbuster, yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. Which, like, basically that movie you told us that cost $8 million and it made $300,000 in the box office. You know, somebody's out a lot of money there. You know, so and that's only $8 million.
Yeah, and that's literally what studios look at. They go, okay, this movie is going to make, like, the budget, I'm assuming, for Iron Man doesn't compare at all to the budget for Avengers Endgame. Do you know what I'm saying? It got really, really big. But what happens then is that you have more involvement from the studio. Whereas, you know, if they say, look, it's throw, you know, a tiny amount of money, $20 million or something crazy at a film, and it hits, it lands, and it makes a fortune, they're all rubbing their hands and going, yes, this is the genre now. This is what we're doing. This is the blockbuster, or it's alien movies, or it's, you know, superhero movies, whatever it happens to be. But of course, then they're going to start putting more money in it to get more money out, because they know that if they put in 20 and get $500 million, that if they put in 250 million, they're going to get $1 billion. You know what I mean? So they know that. But then, of course, as soon as you start investing more into something, you're going to want more of a say in it. And producers, God bless them, are not artists. They just do the books and stuff like that. It's the directors, the writers, and the actors that bring it all together. And of course, you know, makeup and lights and cameras and all those people that make the movie magic. So they put their oar in more and more the more money they put into it, because they want to guarantee it. But of course, that sterilizes it then, and then people go like, "Oh, this is the same as all the other ones."
Yeah, but what I was also going to say is, let's say you are pitching an idea to a production studio.
Yeah.
If you can say, "Hey, let's make Back to the Future, I don't know, 4 or whatever it is," there's an automatic that's going to make a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
Or if you're like, "Hey, I have this totally new idea for this new IP, new idea totally, I'm inventing it." Odds are that's not going to ever get off the ground.
Yeah.
And
unless you can back it up with, and it's going to have an absolutely phenomenal line of toys.
Yeah.
Then maybe you might go, "Oh."
They've always been like that as well, though.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
But
Ooh, toys.
So I mean, another point that Aidan was making, okay, is, you know, the way that the big, like, Apple, Netflix, Marvel, they're all being, you know, buying up
Any IP they
all
can
this
get their
kind of
hands
stuff.
on, yeah.
If you're like the likes of Meta, Facebook, who own Instagram, eventually it could start happening where the likes of Instagram are going to start buying channels as well. Because
when you say channels, what do you mean?
it's like, programs. They can start buying
shows,
like TV shows and that kind of stuff. Okay, so that a TV show, like, imagine if Instagram buy a TV show, okay, or have an interest in a TV show. Imagine the amount of money, imagine the amount of advertising they can brainwash people into. Hey, you want to start watching this program, type of thing, you know?
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, it's not that the TV show would suddenly be like, "Oh, I've got to put this on my Insta."
yeah. Or it's like, so Aidan, we're looking at this program at the moment called Mr. In Between. It's absolutely brilliant. It's like one of the best programs I ever saw, okay? Genuinely. But Aidan saw the clip of that on Instagram. Okay, because it was used as kind of like, what's a moral thing to do and all this kind of stuff. So the snippets were being used from Mr. In Between. But imagine if Instagram purchased some kind of crappy program and it's like, oh, it's not doing so well. Of course, they can just kind of start plugging it in, kind of sticking it into, like, putting up loads of ads for
because
it.
they have a platform to
They have a platform.
put the word out.
So we're being brainwashed. I suppose a lot of the point here is like the potential for us to be brainwashed by watching the same old rehashed kind of IPs is staggering, you know. Now, and that was so that
I don't know if I'd use the word brainwashed. I mean, you can say they're going to make another Marvel movie about, you know, superheroes instead of making some other new, different storyline. That's unimaginative. It's by the numbers. It's not really brainwashing.
Okay, no, but that's not brainwashing. But the thing about social media, it could be brainwashing. So let's say Disney bought in Facebook. Okay, you can bet your ass that Facebook and Instagram would be plugging the hell out of the new.
Yeah, but that's
IPs,
just
yeah.
advertising.
No, it's advertising. Oh,
But,
yeah,
but
okay,
I know
you're
what you
right.
mean. Like
Yeah.
Instagram is a platform to get the word out on many things.
Yeah.
Like we were even talking about we should be getting segments of this podcast and putting it on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so that you've got
So
your
we can
like
brainwash
30-second sound bite kind
Yeah.
of thing. Because
Yeah.
I don't use Instagram myself, but like I know Rachel does, and
Yeah.
she, you know, just will be like, oh, look at this funny little clip from some random guy's podcast, and then I'll look it up because I'm thinking, yeah, that seems interesting. But I mean, that's just more advertising
Yeah.
than brain. I mean, I guess advertising is brainwashing.
It's brainwashing, yeah.
But, you know, I don't think there's anything excessively new or insidious there. Than,
A thing he was saying as well is an example of, you know, the way that back in our parents' day, it was like Westerns was the
Genre.
genre.
The genre du jour.
Okay, at the moment, what's the genre du jour?
Superheroes.
Yes, exactly. So eventually they'll fade away.
Never.
What will be? Well, what will be the?
This golden goose is going to lay eggs forever.
Well, what will be the new genre du jour? Nobody knows. It might be sci-fi.
I mean, I was
it
going to
might-
say it's hard to tell.
yeah, yeah, it's a very
Could be
hard.
sci-fi,
But that
could
is
be
literally the future,
Martial arts is the next one.
literally the future of cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Martial arts. I'm calling it.
Martial arts.
Yeah.
Mart, what do you think
I
the
mean-
next one's going to be?
I really don't know. Like Westerns were the genre du jour back in the day because they were cheap to produce. You could make a whole entire, you know, TV show or movie or whatever, and they had the same, you know, the same
sets.
stock of stuff that they used in all the sets and all the
Yeah.
clothes and everything. So whereas now CGI reigns king in the cinema, so you know, superhero stuff and sci-fi stuff it's the golden age of sci-fi right now. There's so much.
It's all
really
sci-fi.
high quality
It's
sci-fi.
pretty much
stuff.
all sci-fi.
Yeah.
TV and movies. It's
Yeah.
a lot of sci-fi.
So another thing that we were saying is the importance of Hollywood will probably fade away from the point of view of a innovative film point of view, if
Well,
that's not already happened.
I was going to say it's either already happened or the descent is already happening because.
So the likes of like Cannes and the Sundance Film and that kind of stuff, and even the Galway Film Fleadh that we're having, those kind of things are going to become more important.
No, that's not
to-
what I was going to say at all.
Oh,
I think
go
me
on.
and you were saying, for starters, if you're going to compare Hollywood and the Galway Film Fleadh, I wouldn't even say them in the same breath.
You wouldn't now.
Oh, yeah,
Hollywood
yeah,
is like-
but that's the point.
You
That's
can't say them in the same breath very easily. Hollywood and the Galway Film Fleadh have nothing in common.
I mean, it's just Hollywood is really for us in the Western world. That's the place that all the movies come from. Now I know that that's not true,
Yeah.
even, but you know what I mean. That's the huge generalization. But China is the biggest market of movies, and like the perfect example of this is Fast and the Furious. I don't know, 8 or 9 or whatever
I
it
thought I
was.
was going to say 22. Damn.
Yeah, no, because Fast and Furious 10 is coming out now. But anyway, you remember the one with John Cena?
No.
in it? Well, okay. This is a famous thing that happened. He was doing, as actors do, the kind of appearance on all the big
The PR
tour. Thank
Yeah.
you, Barry. Exactly that. And he said on national television in I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was talking about Singapore, I think. And he's-
Taiwan.
Yeah, or Taiwan.
Yeah.
And he said that it was, Taiwan is the first country. Yeah, that was it. He said, Taiwan is the first country that we're airing this movie in. So suddenly that's like super duper politically incorrect because China are like, no. Taiwan isn't a country, it's a part of China. So don't label it or identify it as a country of its own. Now, I'm sure John Cena doesn't give a hoot one way or the other about politics. I don't know, but I wouldn't imagine he's... But this was a huge faux pas. And it was the Chinese government were like, well, that's it. Fast and Furious, you're not going to get aired in China now. So to them, it's like, well, we're going to lose 50% of all of our market. So John Cena, it was actually pathetic to see. And I feel bad for him, but he had to make this groveling total pleading apology, begging forgiveness from the Chinese people. And he said it in perfect Mandarin to just, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to say that, blah, please forgive me and all this kind of stuff. But it was just like, it just shows the power that China has
Yeah.
over Hollywood.
It's unbelievable
right now.
at the moment, and for the last say 20 odd years,
Yeah.
you don't see the Chinese as protagonists. Is that the word? Antagonists. Sorry, you don't see them as the antagonists anymore. They're never like they're not the invading force. They're not the bad guys.
But
So yeah, they keep them sweet because
yeah, and what's happening in Hollywood is, it's not that China say, don't do that in a movie, we don't allow you. Instead, Hollywood kind of do self-censorship themselves, because if you're going to make a movie and it's going to cost you 250 billion quid, you can't afford to put something in it that might upset the Chinese censors, or else they just won't allow the movie to be aired and you've lost half your market.
Yeah.
So straight away, they're always preemptively bending over backwards to try to keep China happy in all the movies that are being made in Hollywood right now, which is just a state of affairs, but it shows that Hollywood aren't the big mega power of movie making that you would automatically assume when you're here in the West. Because
at the same time, they've always been like that. Back before China was such a huge market, and they knew that America and Europe were their main markets. They made sure not to do anything that would piss off Americans or Europeans, because it's their biggest market. You can't. You have to pander to the money. If you're in the business of making money, you have to pander to where the money is. You can't. There's no other way of doing it.
Do you think? Let's say that we got a contract of. Let's say that we got a contract. It is absolutely off topic, and I don't want to talk about it too much. It's just a random thing that hit me now.
No, shoot us out. No, don't shoot us.
If someone were to, if the Chinese Communist Party were to say, hey, if you just say good things about China.
Stop shitting on us every week.
If you say good things about China, like for 5 minutes during the 1 hour, 40 minutes to 1 to 2 hour show, we will pay you €10,000 an episode. Would you do it?
If the wonderful country of China wanted to do that, then I certainly would have no problem with it.
Right?
no, I would definitely be of the opinion, if we were ever to get sponsors, we would have to, firstly, anything you state in favor of your sponsor has to be clearly presented as advertisement.
Oh, no, let's say, you'd say, like, this is an advertisement for literally as Barry said, for the fantastic blah, blah, blah.
Well, China. In that case, I wouldn't be objecting to certain ads. Now, I wouldn't, if we ever did get advertising and it was saying, try this new, letter opener because it's great. Some letter opener company provided us money to sponsor their product. I wouldn't be saying, I use this letter opener every week and I find it great to open
the Chinese government would be saying, try this new letter opener. It's brilliant for when we abduct pregnant teens, we can give them abortions really easily.
Is that an actual thing?
That went so dark so fucking quick. I was about to make a joke about how you've got this great letter opener, but nobody sends any fucking letters anymore. And you go to her. That's just...
Does China do that?
No, yes. Yeah. I have literally... I could do a 3-hour podcast on nothing good about China.
Says the man who says, Russia is great. I love Russia.
Look, as I said...
Join us next time when Donald's going to sit for 3 hours on his own talking about the virtues of Russia.
No. But ultimately, if we were to get sponsorship from anyone,
No, but my question is, would you take the money from China, from the Chinese government?
Well, why not? Yeah.
Because when there's a war, you want to be on the side of the winners. That's why.
Oh, wait a second now. I mean, it's like you're advertising a product. If some shoe manufacturer told us, here's money, place an ad about these shoes.
Yeah.
No, you'd say, yeah, these shoes, they're meant to be good, and I would wear them around and say how I feel about them. And then if I found out that, if you found out that there was some shoe war where something was, it doesn't mean that you're on the side just because you advertise for them once.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't bother me anyway.
Yep.
And that's not to say that I would, do anything for money or take any advertising of any product. I would be selective and whatever. But, it's...
to go on to a totally different thing, have you ever heard of the show Bluey?
No.
What? The show Bluey is, like, genuinely one of the best programs I've seen in a while. Okay? It's aimed at kids, clearly. But it's one of those, the way there's
badly hum music?
No, what is it? Somebody in the audience will scream it out to me.
I have a feeling we're going off topic here as well.
Slightly.
Wait, they might be screaming it, but they're... Okay, they're not.
You're on your own here, Donald.
They're looking as confused.
Stop.
They're looking as confused as we are.
Gravity Falls. Thank you. My gosh.
Yeah, of course.
Very good, Barry. Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
So Gravity Falls, you know
how
the way
did
the
you get
Gravity Falls is a
Never seen it.
It's a kids program, but it's clearly it's a brilliant program.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the way Bluey that's the way Bluey is as well. Okay, but it's aimed for younger kids, but it's still a very, very, very good program. Definitely worth watching. Definitely worth watching if you have a.
Is this a
young
shout out
kid at
for this
home.
show, or is this something to do with the future cinema?
This is something to do kind of with the future cinema, but you'll see what I mean.
I'm thinking Donald's getting secretly sponsored.
I was
by
going to
several.
say exactly
There's
that.
a couple of shows he said tonight, and this show is one of the best shows I've ever seen. Genuinely.
Well, one thing I'm going to say about Donald, you say this show is so good, I recommend it, etc. But you say that about too much stuff.
Yeah.
So
You do say it about a lot.
you dilute the power of that phrase as well.
Well, look, Bluey is really good. Okay.
Okay, but what's it got to do with the future cinema? Or
But no, here's the thing. There are some parts of Bluey. Wait a second. Bluey is edited, made in Australia, but certain things are edited in American version. Oh yeah. So there's a part in Bluey where in the Australian version of Bluey, where a horse is shown pooing on the dad because the dad, was considering getting a vasectomy. No, I've definitely mixed that up.
That
There are
makes perfect sense. Carry on.
Wait, there are two different things. The horse, I've definitely butchered that.
But
Wait.
sometimes you can try level a story.
Just
vasectomy.
wait.
Go on.
Yeah, I want to watch the show now.
There are two things. The dad was talking about getting a vasectomy. They didn't show that in the American version. Okay.
The actual vasectomy, but they showed it.
No.
in Australia.
The thing where
Sure,
the
they didn't
dad,
show.
where it was mentioned that the dad was going to get a vasectomy, that
Okay.
wasn't shown in the American one.
Okay.
And also there's a piece where something happened where the horse was something and the horse took a crap, but they didn't show that either. Now the two reasons are the reason I'm saying this is the way that there's so much censorship and there's so much clipping happening in programs. Okay, that we're not being shown things
The true art?
No, we're not being shown things that might be offensive, and Bluey is a perfect example of it because it's just an example that I have from a cartoon.
Okay.
But like Aidan was talking about, there's loads of parts that are being clipped where one of them was like there's disaster films. I think the disaster
But I mean, let's
film-
just go back to that topic there, right?
Go on.
So you've acknowledged for different countries, there's different things that would be maybe edited out of a show
Yeah.
by the censors for their own various reasons.
Yeah.
So the first question I have for you is, do you think that things should be censored out of shows, or do you think there should be no censorship? Everything should just be put out there for all audiences and all ages.
Here's what
Are
I
we
think.
back to our very first podcast, are we? Freedom of speech.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Clearly, not
Watch this-
everything.
Yeah, we're going to
Clearly,
contradict ourselves now.
Yeah,
soon.
clearly, not everything should be in every program.
So therefore, we agree with the principle of censorship. So now it just comes down to different countries have different standards, and even just a different
wait a
censor
second.
might just
Do you
censor.
call it censorship? Because censorship is its own thing, and then there's showing things that are appropriate to people is another thing.
Maybe censorship is even a strong word, but if you take a 30-minute show and say, I'm going to cut out that 1 minute because there's a
That's censorship.
depiction in it that I don't think our audiences should see, then I would consider
Is
that
that
a
censorship?
form of
That is
censorship.
exactly
Yeah,
censorship.
that's censorship.
So,
yeah.
but I wouldn't necessarily think that there's anything nefarious there, or
Yeah.
it's mildly interesting to hear, gee, they wouldn't show a horse pooping in one country and they did in another country. That mildly amuses me even. But I don't think there's anything bad there. I don't know, were you saying that as if it was a bad thing, or?
I'm saying it because by the time it gets to the program was made in Australia, but by the time Disney show it, Disney are censoring it.
Okay, which, as you already agreed even with the principle of shows being censored for different audiences and different age groups. So we're all on the same page. Go
Yeah,
Disney.
but what they're censoring is there's nothing wrong with this censorship. Like there's some things that should be censored, clearly, but there's nothing wrong. There was nothing wrong with it to censor in the first place.
Okay. So if that's we're very like the Australians, the Irish people. So
Yeah.
the sense of humor we have, it's quite similar. So a horse pooping, we don't see. So why would they censor a horse poop? And that makes no sense at all.
Or
But
dad getting a vasectomy.
Or a dad getting a vasectomy. It doesn't matter. That's not censorship worthy, but other countries would. They would be like, we're showing a pooping horse. Oh my goodness! Somebody think of the children, you know. So we're looking at you're looking at it through that lens. You have to look at it through a lens of someone who's grown up in a completely different environment where they say, no, you can't showing pooping on TV. That's disgusting. Don't forget, it was years after TV shows were, going on that they showed the first toilet. Never mind a toilet flushing or someone sitting on a toilet, nothing of that, just a toilet.
Really? I never thought of that.
It was
actually.
years.
Then again, how long was Star Trek before they showed a toilet on the ship?
Yeah, or how long was, Star Trek wasn't actually that long before they showed an interracial kiss. But that was the
first ever, yeah.
Interracial kiss on television. So, yeah, things like that we have to kind of take with the cultural lens that it's been viewed through.
Exactly, Barry. Which puts me back directly into the future of cinema. Okay? Because what cultural lens are we showing? Now, I got not. This is how you know you got something against something. When you say, I have nothing against this thing. Okay? I have nothing against Saudi Arabia. They call the, what's the bone saw? What's the leader of Saudi Arabia? He has a nickname.
I don't know.
He has a nickname, Bonesaw something.
Was that because they sawed up that journalist?
Yes, because they sawed up the journalist that was saying stuff against Saudi Arabia. So the Saudi Arabian government was like, yep, take him and chop him up into little bits because he's going against the family.
They chop him up or saw him up? Because I'm thinking this nickname is starting to sound a bit dodgy, like.
No,
because like if they chopped him up, they call him Chopper. His nickname's Chopper. That writes itself.
No,
actually,
if you
they sawed him up. They sawed him up.
Then it's got to be like, what did you say? Bonesaw. It's got to be Bonesaw. Something.
I forget his surname, but anyway, it might come to me in a few minutes.
O'Brien.
O'Brien.
You really get hung up on names. To me, it's like
no, don't worry.
Bonesaw O'Brien. From Saudi Arabia.
Now, so do you know the way that the Saudi Arabian government bought loads of golfers?
Oh yes,
and they started. And do you know about this?
Yes, they're doing their own.
They did their own
PGA.
golf league. Okay, and the way they got the golfers is by going, we're going to just throw loads of money at you. Okay, and then the people are like, oh, geez, okay, we'll definitely start playing in this league. Yeah. Okay, because the Saudi Arabians want to.
What, sports wash?
Whitewash, sports wash over their terrible, absolutely horrendous
human rights abuses.
And everything else, yeah.
Okay, and everything else. Okay, now, then, as a matter of interest, I don't know if you know that the PGA all of a sudden realized, oh, wait a second, the Saudi Arabian government isn't that bad, and they have now joined the two
tournaments
together.
Yeah.
So in other words,
when you say the PGA leaders, Saudi Arabia is not that bad, well, they were counting money that they received from somewhere.
Exactly. So in other words, Saudi Arabia won. You know, they
money
succeeded.
always wins.
Okay. So, but it's not money okay. Let's leave it at that. Money always wins in this case. So when we're talking about something like Bluey, okay, how long is it going to be before it's like the things, our beliefs are going to be dictated by
money,
the likes of the Saudi Arabians?
Yeah, they'll turn around and go.
So that's what I'm talking.
Don't put that in the TV
show. Yeah, that's
show.
what I'm talking about. Like about Bluey and stuff. It's a small and it's a silly point, but it's a huge thing when you look at it from the point of view of.
That's always the concern about any form of censorship. I think we're all on the same page. We agree some degree of censorship is definitely necessary and good, but then it's like, okay, but who is making the decisions of what gets censored? You know, that's the other. And
who's it goes back to a thing we've talked about before. Who's watching the watchers?
Yeah,
do you know who's making sure the censor isn't being corrupted by someone?
This is where I would recommend people go back and listen to our first episode, Freedom of Speech. Except
link for up there or down there.
Yeah, I almost wouldn't though, because I know those early episodes we didn't have these mics.
Yeah,
and for me the sound was so awful. I think the first 3 episodes were so the content quality I think was good, but the audio quality was so bad.
Well, I mean, people can listen to a little bit of bad audio. You know that the audio's improved, like, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, oh, sorry, dog.
So I have a random question for you both, because for a while there, there was a bit of a furore over Daniel Craig stepped down as James Bond, and they were going to pick a new person to play James Bond. And then there was talk of, hey, they might even get a female actor to play the new Bond. Thoughts?
they should not make a female James Bond.
Well, they can't because
They can't.
It's James Bond. What they can do, though, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this because it's been proven by Marvel and by several others, is they can expand the Bond universe and have 004, who happens to be a female and kicks ass and is played by Anna de Armas or anyone else. Doesn't matter.
But I don't understand why. How do you explain that James Bond is alive for, I don't know, 5 decades and he's gone through
Because
5
he's
different actors?
James Bond.
He's not
No.
Doctor Who.
In my mind, it was always obvious and self-evident. Timothy Dalton is James Bond. We watch a few movies. Then, off-screen somewhere, he either dies or retires, and the 007 mantle is
Including the
handed
name.
over, including the name, is just handed to a new agent. Because if you're going to be an agent, you're not going to use your real name so people can trace you and kill your mother. So you get a pseudonym, you get the 007 kind of title. And I know one movie totally shot this theory out of the water for me because I was convinced, clearly, this is obviously what's going on here. But then there was one one movie where he saw his gravestone with, Mrs. and Mr. Bond kind of for his parents' graves. And I was thinking, what? Really?
But it could be coincidence.
Eventually,
Eventually, if you were given the same random name to different people,
I just
eventually-
feel like James Bond is one character that's been adequately switched out in actors successfully. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. And the thing is, it's not just changing an actor and hoping no one notices. You can just put in a female actor and be like, here's the new James Bond. New agent now got assigned the 007 role because the last one just died.
The thing about
Actually,
it
that's go on.
it's
Ray, yeah.
interesting, and that's one way. That's definitely one way of looking at it, that they do that. I've never bothered with those kind of theories. I just watch James Bond. Oh, it's a new James Bond. It's just a new telling of the same story, as in the stories we heard of James Bond back when it was Sean Connery. They're them stories. Then there's other stories, Roger Moore telling them. Then there's other stories with Dalton, other stories with Pierce Brosnan, other stories with
And what's it, George Lazenby, the guy who
Jay
did
Lethbridge played him
one?
once. And what about the guy that didn't play any, who was cast as James Bond?
Really?
Did you hear about this guy? Yeah, there was an actor cast as James Bond, played 0 roles, and still got paid.
Wow.
Yeah, to me, that's the ultimate James Bond move right there.
So go on and tell us, why shouldn't James Bond be a female?
Because when I think of James Bond is a guy.
So you're saying, I'm Donald, I don't like to have my narrow perceptions challenged
Yes.
or my view expanded at all.
It's not even that. It's like, look at Ian Fleming wrote a book about
Sorry, though,
a
I'm
male.
just needling you to try to force you out of it.
Ian Fleming wrote books about a male, misogynistic, almost superhuman super spy. That's the character he wrote. So just leave it at that. Make more movies about it, but it doesn't matter. The timelines don't have to add up and all that stuff.
Here's the
Just have
question.
it-
Here's a question. Did you know that the actors of Sex and the City,
I was so invested in this conversation. Now I'm just.
Yes, you're losing us,
wait a
Donald.
second. Basically,
See, you're
the
going to try
actors-
to remember their
wait,
names,
the
even though it doesn't
actors
matter.
the actors of Sex and the City, 3 of them had a fight with one of them. That one of them, imagine if they replaced that person with Daniel Craig. Okay, and all of a sudden, for the new film that's coming out or for the new TV series, they never addressed it or anything. It's just like now Daniel Craig, the Samantha was now
Yeah.
a man.
I'm gonna-
But there's a problem with that.
Yes.
Go on.
Is
What
that they're the exact same characters in a timeline story.
Exactly.
There's a timeline.
That's what
happening.
James Bond is. James
it's not.
Bond.
No, James
it's
Bond
not.
has... The
It's
actor has
absolutely
been
not.
changed in James Bond about half a dozen times.
No, the actor has, but it's still James Bond.
Yeah, but the storylines are
And
all
it can-
different.
Wait, and
but
then they
there's-
change
no,
the
but-
actor
yeah, but-
again, and it's still James Bond,
No. You see,
who
what
happens to be a woman.
what you were saying is there's 007, and the 007, there could be a new 007 that is female. Literally nothing against that. Why would I have anything against that? But you can't go and say, this is James Bond. Well, you can. This is James Bond, and now James Bond is...
I just found this so interesting when it came up first because I don't care anyway, one way or the other, to be honest. But I don't understand the resistance, I guess. And even you're explaining it to me now. You're not making me see the point. Even you might not make me agree with the point, but even make me see the perspective. I still don't see the perspective. It's like no, because it never was before.
But
that's
there's
the
no need
opposite
to
of creativity.
change it.
Well,
You leave James Bond as James Bond, and then have his sister,
but
Samantha Bond.
You say there's no need to change it, but every new Bond movie, you want there to be something different in it, something new.
Ah, I want James Bond to be on kicking ass and
yeah. Specifically, I don't
doing other
want
things with ass.
something
Okay. Well, okay. Like, I'm not going to try to convince you. I find the topic interesting.
and so do I. But I think just James Bond is James Bond. He's a misogynistic, alcoholic super spy. Leave it at that.
Well, tell me this, Barry. And this is, by the way, changing the topic. And both of you, what's your favourite movie and why? I'm going to try
I
to.
can't just drop that on a man. I need
Okay,
time to think about that.
We'll think about. Actually, yeah. Is that got to do? That's too much of a big question.
Some days
That's
it's different.
interesting because I ask people this like at a party. I just think this is a big question for me, and I think it kind of says a bit about you as a person. What your answer is?
Well, the first thing that pops into my head is Pulp Fiction. I love that movie.
Good one.
But then again, having said that, I haven't actually watched Pulp Fiction in 20 years.
What?
So,
Can you still remember the Jules quote?
well, the path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyrannies of evil men. And blessed is he who hath understanding, who... No, I don't got
In
it.
the name of charity and
Yeah, that's the end
goodwill,
of it. But not
shepherds the
bad.
weak through the valley of darkness.
But that's the thing is, I haven't watched that in so long. It's my favorite movie in my head, but I don't know if I watched my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Say,
Oh, I know what you mean.
Would
that
they
might
still
have-
be?
Yeah, would they hold up?
I don't know because you change over time. Or
But-
you should change over time.
Actually, I have a thing written here. Right? Could Quentin Tarantino make Pulp Fiction today?
Oh, that's nice. Segue into that. I think so because, like, if you look at Quentin Tarantino's last movie, which only came out a couple of years ago, was very Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, I think the
True,
reason
true,
Pulp Fiction was so big at the time was it kind of showed the villainous people as the protagonists, and it was so.
There were no protagonists in it. They were all antagonists. They were all
But
bad guys.
I guess we followed them, and I think it presented them as being so casual. No, it presented them as being human. But anyway, no, I don't see any resistance or reason why Pulp Fiction wouldn't get made today.
Yeah,
Interesting.
different cast.
But I always think for me, it's like.
Jules would probably be a woman.
Yeah. I always think there's two types of, I'm going to say movies and TV shows. And I see all stuff in the cinema and TV shows and all. I see it in this way. There's some things that are shallow and there's some things that are deep. So, for example, a James Bond movie. That's the perfect example of a shallow story.
Gotta say it. The Abyss. That was deep.
Is deep. Okay, well, no, but I'll explain what I mean, right?
But you mean, Barry, The Abyss, that program, the film that brought about the invention of the Adobe Photoshop?
Yes, that's the one.
Did it really?
Yeah. There were so many special effects in it that when all the special effects were like, they were like just there. So they said, we might as well put these all into one package. And that package was Photoshop.
You know?
Interesting.
Yeah, I knew that fact.
Well, but I was going to say,
Yeah.
Some things are just to be appreciated on the surface level, and that's kind of all it is, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But then other things are kind of thinkers, and you'll go away afterwards and you'll be thinking about it, and maybe you rewatch it or
Like
see
that
new
one
meaning.
about the traveling fresh green tomato pants or something. I don't know. Those thinking movies.
What in the what now?
There's a movie about traveling pants and fried green tomatoes.
Oh, fried green tomatoes and
They're
the
all-
stop.
I have
the
no
whistle
idea.
stop
They're the ones you're
affairs.
talking about.
No,
the
but I would.
thinking movie.
The ultimate. I'm definitely missing
I'm
something
joking.
here.
It's a joke. Go on.
It's totally gone over my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So I would always think anyway. I would always see the world in that lens of like TV shows and stuff. Of is it something to just run through at the surface level, or is it something that's kind of you want to think about after, or watch a YouTube video to explain
Like
it? Or
Breaking
something.
Bad would be a thinker. Would be a deep.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah,
Because there's a lot of stuff going on with
because
that.
there's a lot of it debates the moral issues that he's grappling with and
Yeah.
stuff, and you're debating it with him, and the episode's over, and you're thinking, "Wow, is that the right thing? Would
That's
I
why
do
the
that?"
Marvel films actually were so good. The Infinity Stone umbrella universe was so good because it was a thinker.
I would say Marvel is the epitome of the most surface level
no,
thing
no,
ever.
No.
There's
Okay,
like big
okay.
shiny things and explosions, which is great, and I love them.
I will ask you in that case, okay? And this is a future of cinema thing, okay? Are films like with the Thanos thing? Is it or even with Doctor
Strange.
No? Anyway, in the Marvel thing, he just wanted to bring peace into the universe or restore the balance in the universe by snapping half the people the life away. That's an interesting question.
I mean, for starters, what Marvel had to deal with out of the content of the comics, they did an amazing job to put that on the screen and make it in any way relatable and good. But I mean, come on, Thanos, snap your fingers and kill half the universe, or snap your fingers and double all the resources in the universe, and no one has to die. You have the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, or snap your fingers and just get rid of, murderers, pedophiles, rapists,
Well, it's easy
corrupt
to say
politicians.
in hindsight, in all honesty.
Oh, it's
He
not.
had plenty time to think about it.
He had infinity. He literally had infinity to think
but just
about
because
it.
you have loads of time to think about something doesn't mean
No,
it's...
I would say the ultimate thinker movie is The Matrix. The Matrix.
Oh,
trilogy.
yeah, okay.
Oh,
the
that's a
Matrix
good
is
thinker.
good.
You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because they literally.
wait,
Yeah.
what about Jacob's Ladder? Or Donnie Darko?
No,
Yes,
there's
they're
a
perfect
million
examples.
good films.
But
Well,
wait,
lots,
they're only
but-
thinkers in that you spend ages thinking on what in the name of God did I just watch?
But I want to be very clear now, because you said there are plenty good movies. Surface movies.
thinkers is what I mean.
Yeah, because
yeah.
movies that are thinkers can be good, but they can also be bad. Surface movies can be brilliant and they can be terrible. It's not a value judgment about being good or bad. They're just different types of movies for me.
Yeah. There is a thing that happened in 1948, okay, that has to do a lot with this thing I was talking about of what if like Apple and all these other big companies that we have today, what if they buy the cinemas, and where's cinema going to go in the future? Okay, that started happening after the war, after the end of World War II in America, and the U.S. Supreme Court in 1948 in America.
The Hayes Act, was it?
It was the Paramount decision.
No, not the Hayes Act.
I don't know if that's
I don't know either what the Hayes Act is. I just know I've heard it. I
Oh,
think
right,
it's something to do with movies.
No, but what it was is they that the Paramount decision was where big Hollywood studios were forced to they weren't allowed to own the cinemas. Do you understand?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
So in other words, the big ones, the big five, which is MGM, Paramount, RKO, 20th Century Fox, and Warner Brothers, they were told, like, you can't own these, you can't make a film and show it exclusively in the cinema. And then what they would do is they would make a film, they would show it exclusively in cinema. When the cinema had gotten tired of it, then they would let other cinemas watch it, okay? And that's the thing that was stopped. But a few years ago, 2 years ago, this was brought up again, and the decision was overturned, and the Paramount decision doesn't exist anymore in...
Right, so they're now allowed to buy out and own their own cinemas,
Yeah.
with their own content in them.
Yes.
Okay.
Interesting.
Now, and that's again...
But they need to be really careful with that kind of crack, though. Because if they guess wrong in that every film we make is going to be hitting our cinemas, that could backfire on them.
It's just kind of, because it does mean every movie that you don't make won't be in your cinema.
Yeah.
It's just almost bringing the streaming wars into the cinema.
Into the cinemas,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is worse, because if you're a town that only has that one cinema, that like only has a Paramount cinema in it, then people are like, oh, I've seen the Paramount movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why it's... But that's why it won't be just a cinema. It'll be streamed on television.
Yeah.
Streamed on
But
services.
you'll go to the cinema and it'll be like, they'll be the cinema, but they'll also be a restaurant, Paramount themed restaurant. There'll be shops with
I was going to say, just
all that stuff, and then
triggered me.
and then you walk in and there's the Paramount gym, and
Actually,
pictures
that's actually really interesting. You're saying that, Barry, and Marty, you can get onto this in a second,
Mm-hmm.
because I looked up a thing that said, how will how is the future of cinema going to be? And there was like 2023 will reshape the exhibition market, which is the exhibition market is what within cinema speak is when you show a cinema.
a film in the cinema.
A film in the cinema, okay. So there's a Giro of Cineworld. It's a big, massive cinema chain.
Their cinema chain, yeah.
That went bankrupt. And AMC, you heard of AMC?
Yeah.
They dodged bankruptcy.
Just
Okay,
about.
but they were able to make loads of money then. They were able to buy up then the smaller other cine worlds.
But AMC also own a TV station, don't they?
Exactly. I believe so.
Well, the AMC is The Walking Dead. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
AMC's Black Sails.
Yeah.
They've made a load of shows.
Yeah.
Really good shows. AMC's Breaking Bad.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. They've made a lot of shows.
So what were you going to say? Oh, yeah. So one of the things then they were saying is that the way that cinemas are going to stay open is by taking in like VR and like flaming ball pools and stuff while you're waiting for in restaurants and
also
all this kind of stuff.
Premium. So where instead of just having a cinema or like having a cinema where this screen is standard, that screen is luxury. All screens will be luxury, and all screens will cost more.
One of the things that I've heard as well.
They'll also go to like not just regular cinemas. All their cinemas will be IMAX or Dolby or what are the other things?
Literally, look, Barry, a greater focus on premiumization, or Dolby, IMAX, iTheaters, 4D, Screen X, all of which will continue to outperform modern standards.
So basically, cinemas will get better.
Yeah, which is terrible for. Oh wait, no, that's great.
But more expensive as well.
More expensive, but yeah, look at a cinema is already expensive. So
we have a little funny story about we went to see Spider-Man, the Miles Morales 2. Is that the name of it?
It's Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
Across the Spider-Verse, and we were looking at the film, right, and a while into the film, we realised the bottom of the screen was starting to go a dark shadow on it. Okay,
really.
And the film is so stylized that I thought that all of us thought didn't pay any attention to it. But after a while, the dark shadow had kind of gotten up and now was darker on the bottom, and we were like, well, we kind of can't almost make out all of the art and the color and stuff that was underneath it. So after a while, I went out to the front and I saw the foyer and I saw one of the staff and I saw one of the staff and I was like, hey, and she said, oh, screen 4, and I was like, yep. So then I went back in and then
she went up to the boot and adjusted the tracking.
No. even funnier, a guy came in with a ladder and he went up on the ladder and he rubbed the screen and he rubbed the condensation off the screen. This is in the Salt Hill Cinema.
Condensation. The Salt Hill Omniplex?
Yeah.
Really?
Which is
That's a preem cinema. That's like
premium cinema. Because here's what happened.
Sorry, when he went up on the ladder, did that get him to the bottom of the screen where it was all dark?
It got him to... So there's...
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Did you wipe it up here and the black stuff down here disappeared?
Wait. There's the... You know the way... There's the cinema screen is like 50 feet away from you. Yeah?
Depending where you're sitting, obviously.
No,
if you're 50 feet away from it, then yeah.
You being the projector, I'm sorry.
All right, okay.
There's a projector up here, okay, up in the air, okay? And there is the screen, it's projecting onto the screen.
Yeah.
The guy went up on the ladder so he could reach the glass window that was in front of the projector.
Oh, he went to the projector, not the screen.
Yeah, sorry.
That makes much more sense.
And
I was trying to figure out what he was doing.
And he cleaned the condensation off the screen.
Yeah,
off the projector glass
window.
that was in front of the projector.
The projector windows.
Yeah, the projector
window.
Okay.
Now
Because the projector itself is going to be flaming boiling.
I couldn't figure out why the condensation on the screen would make a difference. And why do you need a ladder to get up to it? Yeah, it's mental.
No, we went down and then at the end of the film, I was like, I was in screen 4, and immediately they were like, "Oh, here's your
money back.
Complimentaries." No, complimentaries for the next cinema for the next time you come here, which is we're perfectly happy with.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to zip through a few things here.
Do you like going to the cinema?
Yes.
Very easy, simple, quick question. Moving on.
You don't?
I always feel like
you haven't though in years. You don't like it. I think one of the reasons you don't like it, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're trying to watch the movie and someone behind you is going eating food or going that's not.
No,
even
I've
on
had
the
loads of
screen.
experiences over the years, and I am the kind of person who, if I'm in the cinema, don't be talking.
Yeah.
It really, really, really bothers me if someone is talking in the cinema.
Who's your man
I will. I remember one time I was in Star Wars and some guy was right behind me. No. He was reading the subtitles for the Trade Alliance Guild members were talking to the aliens or whatever. But I was like, dude, would you mind kind of? And he was like, she's only 6. And it's like, yeah. Then what's she doing in this movie? No, obviously I didn't say that. And and there's another time I remember there was this Russian guy, again, it was another Star Wars movie, on his phone.
Yeah, you don't mess with him, though.
Right, no, I mentioned it to him, and he just stared at me deadpan for about, maybe there was a 10 seconds of me looking at him looking at me. And then I just, looked back at the screen, I'm saying nothing, and he went back to his phone call.
Was he?
But, I don't know, not particularly, but,
okay.
But it's one of those things where I don't like a I don't like putting myself in a situation.
Well, you might have to be confrontational.
No, it's not that at all. But
right.
where I don't have control. It's like,
Well, yeah.
I can sit at home on my couch and watch the movie, pause it if I need to go to the toilet, turn up the volume in the low bits, turn it down when it gets too loud, because of course But in the cinema, you don't know who's sitting beside you. You don't know how interested they are in the movie. They could be chatting away with their friends.
Okay, I have a quick question for you in that case. On that, would you be, or when do you think, or no?
So when do you think it's okay to shoot someone in the cinema? Is that the question? I was just guessing.
No. How would you feel about watching a film on a VR headset?
Well, that was one of the topics that I was going to mention in relation to the future of cinema. Because I don't know if you guys have read the book. Now, not the movie, which was poor, but the book, Ready Player One.
Yes.
No.
Oh, well, I mean, we heard the audiobook. Listen to the audiobook.
Yeah, well, there's one. Well, for starters, I would definitely recommend it, even if you're not a big audiobook person, because it's narrated by Will Wheaton, who we were talking about earlier. Was it Crusher?
Sign up to audible.com.
They're sponsoring this episode, along with China and Bluey.
And some other show that you mentioned earlier.
What I loved about it, right, it's one book that will definitely make you excited for the future of VR in particular, because it depicts a world not too far in the future, but where VR is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's used for everything. It's used for...
it's an escapism type of thing as well.
Well, it's an escapism as well, just like any other medium today would be like when you watch a movie, that's escapism. But even it's used for education and everything. But they really go into the depth of describing to you how your man puts on this 3D virtual reality headset and he's in a movie. And like that is the next level of immersion for cinema, for sure.
Can't remember the name of it now. There's a TV show with Chloe Grace Moretz in it, and it's a virtual headset, but it goes right.
Oh yeah, I wanted to watch that.
I've watched it.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's
Please tell me you know the name.
No, the name's gone. We'll find it. Somebody goes on IMDb and looks up Chloe Grace Moretz and her TV show.
Okay,
Grace Moretz.
what is the show about? Or
It's literally about what you were talking about.
It's the next level of VR where they have a thing that goes over the head and down over the eyes, and it gives you that you're completely in it, and you have the skills needed to be in it. So
yeah, it's like because
it's
kind of
Matrixy.
At one point, video games and movies were two separate, completely unrelated things. They were both forms of entertainment. But do you remember this though? When we were kids, this is back in the 90s. We had a computer that had a CD-ROM. And there was an interactive movie with, I think it was...
Tia Carrera.
Yes, Barry, Tia Carrera. Yeah, but basically it was a movie, which at the time was amazing that you could watch a movie on your computer anyway. It was unreal. But you could, at certain points, she would turn to you and you were to the screen. And you were...
Choose your own adventure.
Yes, movie. And you were
on CD-ROM.
a player, a character in the movie who would then make the decision, will we go left or will we go right? And that was a very early stage of what I would consider to be the future of cinema, where you're going to be in more... It'll still be a movie. And a lot of video games are like that, as you both know. Some video games are like, run and gun and shoot the enemies, and there's no real story.
You're talking more about like Telltale games.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Video games are a sliding scale of how much you interact versus how much you sit back and watch the storyline unfold until it comes to a point where you make a decision that determines the next path for the storyline to continue on.
I love the idea of that in a cinema, but it's voted.
But
that's in Futurama.
But this could happen. You know Apple's Vision Pro?
No.
Basically,
yes. We talked
with
about
Apple's Vision Pro, you could literally look around. I could see Mart, I can see Barry, but all the time in front of me is the film I'm watching. And then which
could lead to some really uncomfortable...
looking around, looking at the screen, then you can actually choose. You could have a choose your own adventure film while in the cinema, because the headset might be like, on the seat in front of you.
Then there's no reason to be in the cinema for that.
There is, because we would all go to the cinema together, and because the reason that it's good to go to the cinema is because you're like, oh man, that was a good film, and you can hear people going, oh, or something.
I don't ever imagine people would go for something where you're completely immersed in your own experience, completely cut off from the outside world. I don't imagine that would ever be, hey, let's all collectively go to a building.
Do you know how much a cinema chair is?
No.
It's like literally hundreds of euros.
Okay.
That's it, the peripheral.
The peripheral, yeah. So imagine there are people at home, there are people everywhere who can't afford a Vision Pro.
Yeah, everyone.
Okay? Everyone.
Yeah.
No, everyone can't afford a Vision Pro. Do you know who can? AMC, the big cinemas. So imagine going to AMC. This is a good reason. I can guarantee you, now that I think about this fresh, brand new thought I have, that cinemas will have headsets. You'll go to the cinema, you'll put on the headset, you'll enjoy a choose your own adventure film, and at the end of the cinema, you'll leave with all of your friends. You'll go to like the Burger King that's in the lobby, and you'll sit down and you'll talk about, so what happened in your end of the film?
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Future of cinema.
Yeah. But that's what I was going to say is in the book Ready Player One, it really depicts him watching some classic old movie from the 80s that has been ported into VR. So you can literally walk around inside the movie and, go over to this side of the table and the characters are talking, and then go over this side and listen to this guy. And that's kind of a real cool idea that I can definitely see. I don't think it'll be mainstream for a very long time, but I can see that being, I guess, a future of cinema somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
Once VR, if it ever does take off, and I think it will eventually be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, is there any closing thoughts on the future of cinema, guys?
I think that the death knell has been rang for the cinema several times since its
And it
inception.
keeps on coming back.
And it's not that it even keeps on coming back.
It never
just,
goes away.
It just it just keeps going. It doesn't really change. Do you know what I mean? When you go into if we're talking about strictly the cinema, when you go into the cinema, there's a foyer where you buy popcorn and you go in and get a drink or whatever, and you go in and sit in a seat with a bunch of other people and watch a movie up on a big screen. That hasn't changed in a heck of a long time.
Yeah.
The whole thing, like you have, if they release the movie in the cinema this week, but next weekend you can see it on Prime, Amazon Prime, or on Apple or whatever it is, then the likes of me, who we don't have like a go-to babysitter. So myself and Katrina to go at the same time is rare.
Mm-hmm.
So if we know, we can go to the cinema, we've got a babysitter, or we just go for a nice dinner because the movie that's in the cinema is going to be on Netflix next week, and we'll go for the nice dinner and watch it on Netflix next week, where, like Mart made the point, you can pause it and make a cup of tea or do whatever you want. So yeah, I think the future of cinema is still going to be there. Cinephiles are still going to be cinephiles. They're still going to go watch movies in the cinema. The cinemas will still, they'll have to adapt, they'll have to innovate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're still going to be there for a long time to come.
I mean, I guess it's just for me, the cinema isn't something that I really connect with a lot or in a big way. So I'd be a lot happier, and I do like now that, something comes out in the cinema. I'll give it another 6 months and watch it on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
I suppose I never nailed it down, but I don't know, and I don't know why, therefore, but I actually love going to the cinema. I love the whole thing. I love the popcorn. I love going into seats. I love the whole thing.
Yeah, so do I. I like it. You don't.
Yeah, but for me, what I would be excited for is way down the path, the future of cinema, where you have your completely immersive virtual reality headset. You are in the movie, even if you're not interacting or influencing the outcome.
You'd be a player in the movie.
No, even if you're not interacting and you're not influencing the outcome, but you're just experiencing the movie, but in it. No, or you could be in the movie and interacting and influencing, which is a different thing. That's almost like a video game.
You have a VR headset, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, and you have access to the internet.
Yes.
Enough said.
Why?
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
So, with that said, I think that is it. Please like and subscribe, and what else?
Share,
comment.
yeah, tell your friends.
Barry, you were going to write some comments in on this film. On
something you said
On
earlier.
something, yeah. We'll have to wait till this comes out. We'll hear it and go, oh yeah, that's what I was going to write a comment on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, guys. Until next week. And do we know what we're talking about next week?
Well,
next episode.
Next episode, I think we should do, for what is me, the big one. We should talk about, I'm going to say, UFOs. I don't want to call it aliens because UFOs generically can cover.
And I think aliens might take offense as well to aliens. I think they prefer
We've got to be
extraterrestrial.
politically correct,
Yeah.
No, I think we should talk about UFOs, or as they're now called, UAPs. So I think if any listener of this episode has any thoughts on UFOs that you want discussed in the next episode, throw it under the YouTube video and we'll kind of look at that. And
we're looking at you, regular listener Porrick.
Oh yeah, Porrick, actually, one of our listeners commented on our YouTube channel before saying, hey, you should do UFOs. But yeah, it was one for me when you mentioned doing this podcast the first time ever. I was like super pumped. This is the episode I'm looking forward to doing.
Yeah. That'll be episode 11. This is episode 10, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I know.
10 episodes. Plus, we got 1,000 views, which is happy for us as well, which is good for
Delighted
the show.
with that. Yeah. Thanks for everyone. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening.
Yes.
That's it, guys. Until next week.
Okay, bye everybody.
Boom.
Whoa.